Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about dreams and attachment-informed EMDR. We are with Mark Brayne today, who will take over a few logistics. So first of all, in a few minutes, I'm going to drop a form in the chat and I'm going to ask you to fill out your name and email. It's very simple and easy, just your name and email, time you joined and time you left. Our workshop is 4 hours and we'll talk in a minute about breaks, but this will help us keep track of who is here and to give you your certificate of completion from EMDRIA.
It's good to see everybody here. We've got 55 people signed up, which is very good news. It's lovely to see some old friends and new friends. We have a little quick poll just to check how familiar you all are with attachment-informed EMDR, the fundamentals of, because that does underpin how to work with dreams as well, how I work with dreams. And if you could just let us know on the poll that will appear on your screen. Here we go. So just your familiarity with attachment-informed AI, small AI, because there's another AI that is written with capitals, which I'm doing a gathering on that, by the way, Rotem. I'm not sure if you've clocked that. In November, we're having an online discussion of AI capitals at a terrible time for the States on a Saturday morning, our time. Lovely. So we've got, yep, lots of people live and breathe this stuff, reasonably so, just the faint outlines. Just a few of you are completely new to attachment-informed EMDR. That's really useful. So thank you for those answers. Now, some of you have done my EMDR, Unleash Your EMDR Part 2. I could have put on there who's actually done Part 2, therefore worked with dreams. But perhaps if you could just physically put your hand up if you've already had time with me working on dreams. I've just got to move a window here so I can see you all. So I can see some of you, David, yes, and Claudia, and Patty. Most of you not, and Flora, yeah. Some of you really are very well familiar with this.
In the chat, I'm going to drop that form, so just fill out your name, and before you leave, hit submit. So before the end of the 4 hours, and I will remind you toward the end as well.
Great. And I think, can you see the poll results, or do I have to end the poll? You can see them, yeah. So it's well mixed between very great familiarity and reasonable familiarity, and there's just 4 of you who are completely new. So for those of you to whom this is completely new, you just have to bear with us and come on one of my workshops, or there'll be opportunities to learn further down the line. Just go with us, go with us. I think it's a phrase in EMDR, go with something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is go through very fast a quick refresher on the fundamentals of attachment-informed EMDR, because it does underpin the way of working with dreams, the way I work with dreams. But I'll go very fast indeed. So familiar stuff, just roll your eyes. Oh, I know that's typical, Mark, talking about the usual stuff, but I promise to move on fast. And then we'll get to the meat of it. And I do need probably a volunteer. I'm not quite certain how we'll do this. We might do it with a number of you, but I think I'd like to have one volunteer really to go deep with the dream for real, and have the tissues at hand. That would be greatly appreciated. So I haven't got a volunteer yet. Feel free to drop a discreet note to Rotem in the private chat, and probably it's first come, first served. So I've got 2 machines at my end. I present off one machine and can see you all on here, which for me is really important, and it's much better for me than sort of speaking blind to the screen. So here we go. Working with dreams. Colorful space, release the magic. Magic in its technical term of amazing things that happen when we know how to go deep with our clients and shift neurological patterns. Transpersonal, attachment-informed EMDR with dreams. And note that I do, just to emphasize this, I write attachment-informed with small a, small I, to differentiate it from artificial intelligence, which is such an interesting subject, but also to make clear that this is not some fancy new protocol that challenges fundamentally the standard protocol, but we need to understand the standard protocol appropriately for the complexity that our clients bring. So that's me. For those of you who don't know me quite so well, a little bit about a background. I was a BBC foreign correspondent. That's 35 years ago on Tiananmen Square, when the students were demonstrating before the tanks went in, and changed an awful lot. I was a hack, as we say in English, term of endearment for journalists. I became one of these, although I don't put clients on the couch anymore. I never used to. Became a shrink. So I am a bit of a corny joke. I am one of these, a Shrek. So that's a model that was given to me, a little thing by my American Dart Center friends for journalism and trauma in 2007 when I left. So slightly younger me. So that's what I used to do. It's the same job. You listen to stories, try to make sense of the stories. Today's learning objectives, just to summarize: the therapeutic significance of dreams within an attachment-informed and neurobiological EMDR framework, structured method for exploring dreams for target selection, case conceptualization, strategies for incorporating dream imagery and metaphor into EMDR resourcing, bridging and reprocessing, and just a little bracket there, because I was asking ChatGPT to help me with some of this, and it's very keen to include stuff about the capital AI. I have a kind of running joke with ChatGPT on big AI and small AI. So I might just mention that in passing, but possibly not. What we're going to be doing: theoretical orientation, live demo, hour 2, then working with dreams and integration, and finally finishing the day, questions, answers, lots of space for asking questions as well. A toolkit: I use anything that's shiny. I put it in my nest. Jim Knipe, EMDR Toolbox Toolkit. I'm trained in all sorts of different approaches, and I use pretty much every single one at some point in my practice. I'm very transpersonal. I'm also still struggle with this idea. I'm definitely Asperger's. I'm not quite so sure about autism. It's a debate to be had elsewhere. But I do say and do things sometimes that surprise. I just put that up front. Some of you know me well enough to not to be shocked when I sort of barrel off in an interesting direction. That's just a picture of me at sort of 7 or 8, feeling pretty miserable kid, not able to relate to the boys around me. Just a little bit of background. Dreams. Catnip. Don't know if you have the concept in America of catnip, but cats love catnip. And dreams for me basically is why I became a psychotherapist. And I love working with dreams. It is the absolute essence of best EMDR. It's amazing. So that's actually a picture of our Siberian. This is the real thing. That's Rodion sharing a small vase for flowers. He's a Siberian cat who takes his water wherever he can get it. He's very hairy, so he puts his paw into anything wet and he drinks off the paw. So that's Rodion. Rodion, named after the chief character of Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky's novel, and his sister is called Sonia, who was the other main figure in Crime and Punishment. There we are. It's a bit of irrelevant detail. I'm going to go very fast through some basics of attachment-informed EMDR. We've got to remember that no one comes into therapy because of what happened in the past. No one comes into therapy because of the external event. They come into therapy because the past is still, technical term, buggering up the present. The problem is the present and the future. The past needs to be sorted, but it's about now. And that manifests across the piece, including especially in dreams. This understanding is central to the work of EMDR and of attachment repair. This is a big change. Now, this is a very corny slide that's coming up. And lots of you who've done my trainings earlier won't know these slides. That's corn, I gather. We call it maize over here, but you Americans call it corn. I know we've got some Brits here as well. And this is a very cheesy slide that's coming up. That's Wallace and Gromit. I am proposing a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift. And the fundamental tenet of what I recommend in EMDR is beyond trauma. Now, I could talk at length about the positivities of the trauma agenda, trauma-informed care, but actually working with clients, if we get hung up on the trauma is the way into the story, the actual story that we need to find and reprocess and rewire, reveal, rewire, repair, is the attachment context in which this nervous system got to be the way the way it is. I increasingly say we don't work with clients in EMDR, we work with their nervous system. So the client brings their nervous system to us. And it's an evolutionary informed nervous system that works according to the laws of the basic, fundamental dynamics of evolution and survival. And dreams are the space where our frontal cortex goes offline, and it's in dreams that fundamental truths emerge and are asking to be worked with in metaphor and imagery and narrative. It's really exciting. So we go deeper, we go actually beyond trauma. Lots of you know this slide. It's about the two tracks of EMDR. We have, any vehicle has two sets of wheels, but the wheels can run these tracks in the limestone over a long period. That's why clients come to us, because they've got tracks that are stuck. They're stuck in the past, and reenacting old patterns. One of the tracks is the external track, the event, the trauma track, the 10 worst memories, or I never ever do 10 worst memories anymore. The track that really makes the difference working with attachment and working with the complexity of our clients is the attachment track. The internal track, which is how the nervous system is experiencing itself in the world. The I, the you, the society, the context, the relationship between self and other, and meaning that is made. And meaning emerges truthfully, relentlessly, dramatically sometimes, in, above all, dreams. There's nowhere in our entire human experience where the reality, the deeper truths of our nervous system survival is manifested as clearly as it is in dreams. That's why, for me, they are catnip. So trauma, yes, and also formative experience. So how did this nervous system get to be the way it is? And the nervous system does not get to be the way it is primarily through trauma. It's through the dance of relationship, primarily with mother in the context of family and social group and tribe and context. Formative experience is what tells us those are the targets we want to be looking for. So here's a slide many of you know. To find the answers, to find this way into our clients' stories that it's going to make a difference, consider the presenting problem, whatever it is, or the dream, as, at least in part, a metaphor re-experienced in the now. It's a deeper story for the client's actual, literal formative story. That is their actual childhood experience, whether remembered or not. So EMDR takes off when we go into our clients' stories, and we're there alongside their adult self, observing and experiencing and witnessing and feeling the actual experience, external and internal, of their formative years, the child soaked in the marinade of mother and family system. And you know about bridging and how we get there. And let's take an example. I'm going to remind you about the bridging. And lots of you will know this story, but it's a very powerful dream. And I'll tell it again, that a client of mine worked with not so long ago. She had a dream of burnt wrists with paprika seeds, with red pepper seeds, emerging from her burnt wrists here. And it was an absolute nightmare as she was trying to get the seeds off her wrist, and this burns. We bridged from that in the classic attachment-informed way of working. Actually, we bridged from that one. It's interesting. We could have worked with it simply as a dream in the way that I'm going to advocate today. But what the dream took us to was the metaphor of these seeds being a metaphor for the mess that her mother couldn't tolerate, the physical mess, but the emotional mess. And we worked with the dream and really welcomed those seeds into our work. That was our target. That was our starting point for some spectacular work. And this prepared her for her mother's death just a few months later. And her mother, in her mid-80s, took her own life by drowning herself in clear water. She couldn't stand the idea of mess in later life, so she took her own life in the clarity and the simplicity of H2O. I mean, the metaphor was off the scale. And it was sort of presaged in the dream. It's one of the most powerful dreams I've had the privilege to work with. So target identification, radical curiosity. The target is the most important thing in EMDR. The single most important thing is the target. So what are we going to work with and why? Remember that as well as the nasty things, the level 1 experience that still resonate in the present, consider a client's non-resolving presenting issues as rooted in the formative impact on the nervous system of early childhood attachment and attunement, especially maternal. In the context of family and social dynamics, lots of you know this slide. It's one of my most important slides. Mother first, then father, parent, sibling, significant others, kindergarten, school, community. We're all born of a female body, absolutely central to our evolutionary experience and of intergenerational narrative and just being a life form on the planet. Some of you won't have seen these next slides. This is what we do in therapy. We switch the lights on and find that little kid. We get in there via the presenting issues. And we find that little kid all alone in the bedroom. We switch the spotlight on. And this is what we do with clients. We are therapist and clients sitting in a theatre. We are the only observers. We have technical staff. And we switch the lights on, the spotlight. We work with that little kid. We work with the relationship with mother. We work with the meaning that's made. Don't tell anyone. We work with the intergenerational stuff that our clients carry on their backs. We work with the anxious mother, the anxious marinade that cooks that little boy's experience so that he may have had a wonderful childhood, but my goodness me, the mother's anxiety is resonating through into adulthood. Is Charlie Brown sitting depressed on his bench being bullied by Lucy. The little girl in the bedroom while her parents are screaming and yelling in the kitchen. The going on holiday. I mean, this is the stuff of attachment where the nervous system is set. We switch the lights on, and the goal is to help our clients to a space where together we can look at these stories and say, and sort of roll our eyes and say, yep, that's the way it was. These are now memories. They don't burn. And they're not determining the now and the future. That's what we do. And one of the best ways of getting into these stories is dreams. A reminder, there is only one basic protocol. So important because people get hung up on, got to stick to the standard protocol, got to do NCPC, VOC, got to, the 8 phases are incredibly important. But how you fire it up on phase 3, I'll come back to that again in a quick moment. The modified protocol I use almost all the time. Derek Farrell, the EMDR therapy protocol involves getting a memory, firing a memory up that causes a presently held level of disturbance. Images, cognitions, emotions, body sensations. You know that. We stimulate that using dual attention, and the memory moves both subjectively and psychologically in terms of meaning. And we do that in the context of past, present, and future, and the rest is detail. That is such an important slide. Now, how does EMDR work? Those of you who were on Rotem's webinar a short while ago on the mechanisms and artificial intelligence helping us understand the mechanisms of EMDR, Rotem just uploaded an article, Notebook LM, and it created a podcast in real time on the fundamental working mechanism of EMDR. Now, some of you will know Ad de Jong, who says that EMDR works because of the working memory hypothesis. You fire up the working memory, you activate it busily. Is it the orienting response? Or is it the brain? Spelt whichever way you like. I couldn't resist that. Left, right, the laterality of the brain. I think it's left, right brain. I think the closest explanation of how certainly EMDR of the kind that we do deep with attachment, metaphor, meaning, dreams, is the 2 hemispheres working together in a new way. Left hemisphere's ability to observe, right hemisphere's ability to make fundamental felt meaning. A very dear colleague of mine I was talking to today about the future of EMDR in the UK, and she's called Diane Mee. So we decided that, of course, she became a psychotherapist with a surname like me, M-E-E. I had to become a psychotherapist with the name Brayne. That's just in passing. It really does come down to target identification. Target identification is the absolutely central, critical factor in EMDR. The 3 core conditions of successful EMDR: Target identification, target identification, target identification. Dreams is like giving you the targets on a plate. Saying, here, they're not just because you had too much cheese last night. Dreams absolutely have everything you need to do, every place you need to go with your clients. You don't just work with dreams, but they are such a gift to this kind of psychotherapy. Many of you have seen this slide. The left brain, we need that. Scientists, science, mathematics, the familiar, the ability to categorize. I'm accurate, linear, analytical, strategic, practical, control, master of words and language. If you hear, by the way, fighter bomber overhead, that's because we've got the US Air Force doing maneuvers over the North Sea coast, and we get them a lot here. I calculate equations and play with numbers. I am order, I am logic. I know exactly who I am. The right brain is creativity, is free spirit, passion, yearning, sensuality, the sound of roaring laughter, taste, the feeling of sand beneath bare feet, movement, colors, urge to paint, imagination, poetry, sense, feeling. I have the capacity to become who I truly am. Now, dreams take place pretty actively across the whole brain, the right brain especially. And a good dream is a bit like a psychedelic trip. For those of you who know that better than I do, that will include particularly Rotem, know how true that is. So a very important reminder that in attachment-informed EMDR, we really do encourage you to prioritize the use of the modified protocol. The standard protocol, event, image, NCPC, same domain, VOC, 1 to 7 emotion, SUDS, 0 to 10 body. Modified protocol, event, image, emotion, body, belief. SUDS optional. And the thing about this left brain and right brain, again, it is all in the context of dreams, that the standard protocol ricochets the poor old client and the therapist. Great with single incident adult trauma, brilliant. I do use it on occasion, not very often, but I do use it on occasion. It ricochets backwards and forwards between right brain and left brain, PC left, VOC left, emotion right, SUDS left, body right. It kills the therapy stone dead when used just like a tick sheet. The modified protocol, event is right, left, image is right, emotion is right, body is right. Thought, belief then becomes right and left. SUDS, yes, okay, left, but it's optional. So the modified protocol is much more powerful when working at depth with the kind of stories that attachment folk bring. I'm going to do a joint bridge again with you all because it'll take you into your own formative stories. And it's quite a powerful exercise. If you're a bit nervous about it, don't do it. But many of you know this, and it's an exercise that actually bears being done a few times. I'm always interested where I go. Those of you who are not with your video on, I would just reinforce what Rotem said. If you can, please be present. It really makes a difference. It's a fairly vigorous request for you to switch your videos on. So I'm going to do a standard bridge. Central piece for target identification. You can bridge out of a dream as well. So this is a tool you can use in the dream to get into the actual formative autobiography of the client or biography of the client. So I'd invite you all to keep yourself safe, and do it gently, but just close your eyes, turn within, and take a moment just to settle in yourselves. Oh, just notice your breath. And bring your attention to an experience in your life where you've got a story running that's an old friend. It's oh, I'm not quite good enough, or this is all a bit too much, or, oh, I get so irritated when XYZ, or my children, or my clients, or that email, whatever it is, something relatively mundane but familiar. Bring your attention to this and run a video of that experience, a recording of that experience. And pause the video on a moment that captures the energy, the intensity of this experience. It's a familiar experience constellating in a particular moment. And imagine a picture. If you can't remember a picture, imagine one. Looking at that image, notice what emotion it brings up, or would bring up if it were to bring up an emotion, and where that emotion is or would be happening in your body. And notice the belief about yourself that goes with that. I'm, or would go if you could feel it. Numbing, by the way, is also a feeling. And the thought about yourself is likely to be something like, classics of I'm not good enough, or it's all my fault, or I'm responsible, or I'm not safe, whatever it is. Something quite deep, a kind of core belief that's running. Connecting with all of that, the picture, the emotion, picture, image, emotion, body, belief. Now, drop back in time. Go back as far as you can. First place you land. Very first place you land. Or very first place you would land, if you could land. Photo album of your childhood opens on a random page. Looking down the timeline of your life, you remember, oh yeah, when I was that age, like failing everything else. If you haven't got one yet, where were you when you were 5? Okay, if you'd like to open your eyes, don't worry if it was difficult. This is quite it's quite a big one, but it's pretty powerful and pretty quick. It's a central tool in my EMDR. And my question, those of you who've done my workshops know this, is how many of you landed in a memory that was 18 or over? Just put your hand up. Jenny. Hi, Jenny. How many of you landed in a memory that was 13 to 17? Probably. Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah. How many of you in a memory that was 8 to 12? Yeah, Mina, Becky, Lee, one or two others. Yeah, great, David. And Zoom might have noticed some of you putting your hand up and raising your hand. We won't take that as actually asking wanting to speak. So David, feel free to lower your hand again. And the rest of you landed 7 and younger. So how many of you were 7 and younger? I'd invite you all to look at the gallery, just how many of you landed in 7 and younger. Wherever you landed is deeply relevant to where you are now. And how many of you landed in, oh yeah, I know that place. It's, very familiar. Could you just put your hands up? How many of you landed in something, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't expected to go there. Whatever age. Yeah, 1 or 2 of you. That is the brilliance of, and I come back to it, the nervous system. Remember, we are working with the client's nervous system. That's what we do in EMDR, whether we know it or not, consciously know it or not. Your nervous system, each one of you, whether or not you went there, has been doing its survival-informed thing. That's what nervous systems do. It's what they're programmed to do. And it will take us where we need to go. That is the brilliance of EMDR. Fundamentally, we're activating the capacity of the nervous system to go where we need to go in the therapy. Now, dreams are like sort of tilling the soil, fertilizer for the field that we're going to be working in, building materials that we're going to need, glue that we're going to need to put the bits together, the bits themselves. Dreams have everything you need to know about a client, actually, in the context of the stories they tell you. So I hope that was useful. Feel free to put questions or observations into the chat, which Rotem's keeping an eye on. Just a reminder, the bridge analogy, here's our Golden Gate Bridge moving from downtown San Francisco to North Shore, and Francine Shapiro's wandering around having a walk in the park there somewhere. Distress event in the here and now, the why people come to therapy. Image, emotion, body, belief. Drop back in time. Go back as far as you can, first place you land. I don't use trace it back anymore. That's Laurel Parnell's favorite phrase. I just use drop back in time. I need to edit that. I hadn't realized that's a residue, an archaeological residue. First place you land. And then in the past, when we land in the story, we unpack it with the modified protocol, image, emotion, body, belief, go. Same thing. We don't use positive cognitions. We don't use numbers unless they're supportive. All of this emerges in phase 4, ready for an installation or tapping in phase 5 and body scan in phase 6. So we're on track with the 8 phases. And now to dreams. Now to dreams. This is what you're all here for. Are we doing okay? Hands up. Is anybody losing the will to live? Dreams are a mirror on the soul, and they are the royal road to the unconscious. I wonder if any of you know what that's a picture of who haven't done my part two. That is the Incas' royal road in the Altiplano in near Cusco in Peru. And tragically, the Incas' royal road, which they used to literally run along to bring messages between Inca towns and Inca settlements, it's being dug up by local peasants, local farmers who are desperately needing to sell health foods to Europe and and North America. But dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. Now, Sigmund Freud got a hell of a lot wrong in later life, in my view, and in the view of many people, especially the sexualization of everything. But my goodness me, early Freud was pretty amazing, and he's absolutely right. I want to read you a dream. There's a lot of text there. I'd like you to close your eyes and just listen and tune in to my voice. I used to be a BBC foreign correspondent, so I've got one. I ham it up a bit theatrically at times. Edgar Allan Poe in the 19th century. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, this much let me avow. You are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few! Yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep while I weep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? I love that poem. There's so much in there. Where we try to hold on to a dream, it slips through our fingers when we wake up. And do write your dreams down. Ask your clients to write their dreams down. Have a dream journal by the bed. It's incredibly worth trying to do. You can discipline and train your brain to do that, at least to some extent. Most dreams we don't remember. But the thing that Edgar Allan Poe understood is that everything is a dream. We all live in a dream. It's not just the Aboriginal culture of Australia or the tales of the Old Testament. Everything we experience comes into our nervous system as electronic signal. If it's live, you listening to me here, watching me on screen, it's light and sound bouncing off the retina, the eardrum being transformed into electrical signal to the visual and auditory cortex in the brain, which reconstructs an internal virtual reality. So all of you and I, we're all living exclusively in an internal virtual reality. So everything is a dream within a dream. Edgar Allan Poe was absolutely right. At night, when we dream, or when we do psychedelic trips, or when we have transcendent moments of awe, perhaps, when we actually go in really deep into ourselves, or meditating perhaps, we enter that part of our nervous system that is meaning making. That is the construct that our nervous system collectively and individually has built, the virtual world that is built on the basis of incoming information and hereditary information, genetic and felt, and family and tribe and the rest of it. That is our database. When I talk to ChatGPT cross-references my prompts against pretty much everything that human beings have ever written and recorded. You individually, I individually, when something happens, that's what our brains do. Cross-references everything that comes in against the database of previous experience, individual and collective. And the dreams constellate individual experience in metaphor and narrative. Sensationally interesting stuff. So let's work with them. And they are a portal. They're an entry point into the stories that are aching, that are wanting to be told. And in this picture, you can see the attachment stories, the formative stories. Here, you've got the big level 4 Auschwitz experience there, or slavery, or the intergenerational stories that we all carry in our different ways. You've got the disorganized, chaotic attachment stories of childhood. You've got the ambivalent attachment stories of childhood, the actual experiences that have determined and laid down how our clients' nervous systems deal with the world. And what do dreams do? Well, here's a metaphor again for the ordered, siloed way the left brain works. It's very judgmental of the left brain. I mean, thank goodness we've got a left brain. We wouldn't be able to function without it. But the right brain is, creative and colourful and all the rest of it. But what dreams do is they are a diversion, an Umleitung is the German term for diversion. German is one of my languages. And it enables us to drop right into the right brain experience of self in the world. And when we sleep, dreams take place primarily in the anterior insula, apparently, and the hippocampus. I'm not a brain scientist, but this is what I'm told. And the prefrontal cortex, when we're asleep, you can tell I worked in radio, these amazing graphics. They work better on radio, actually, these graphics. And the prefrontal cortex is offline, is actually quiescent. So the brain and the nervous system freed to explore and enter and work with metaphor meaning without the constraints of external reality. Jung, my great hero, Carl Jung, was brilliant on dreams. If you haven't read Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Man and His Symbols, his two very accessible books written, co-authored in later life, they're brilliant. Jung's basic understanding is that in dreams, every aspect of a dream is the part of the self. Every aspect. I'll come on to that in more detail. And let's take them seriously. If a client dreams about a reflection, a resonance with the little match girl from the Hans Christian Andersen stories, being on the outside, the sort of metaphorical meaning of feeling on the outside and looking in through the window at the warmth and the tenderness, and then she dies trying to heat herself and light herself with the matches. It's an incredibly powerful story. It used to literally make me cry when I read it because it resonated with my childhood experience, especially being autistic and having my highly dysfunctional family. If a client dreams like that, take it seriously. Dreams are telling a story that wants to be known. I'll give you a dream of mine. I'll tell you a couple of my dreams. In 1992, I dreamt of Orthodox priests assembling in an octagonal, deeply red chapel, dark, and chanting Orthodox chants. Now, I've lived in Russia for 3 years, and I speak Russian, and I love the Russian and the Orthodox traditions. I'm not religious myself, but this dream, I wept in this dream, for at the heart of the dream was a kind of crucible. I mean, this is almost a picture of my internal dream. A little man, a homunculus, in a crucible, in a kind of flame environment, being cooked, I think I was sort of dreaming of my conception. In the womb, the colors of this chapel were the colors of the womb, the colors of the placenta of our 3 children, where I was wonderfully privileged to be present. The placenta has this extraordinary color, which is the color of deep red and the color of sort of spirituality. I wept in this dream. I woke up, I was dry eyes, I was all in the dream. That is the dream, one of 2 big dreams that prompted me to go into psychotherapy, to become a therapist. Now, here is, written in words, is my attachment-informed extended interweave. I don't call it a protocol. There are too many protocols out there. This is an extended phase 4 interweave, really. but also a target identification way of getting things going in phase 3. I'll come back to the wording in a moment. And I want to go through some of the key things about dreams. If we dream of a building, here's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, for example, a very powerfully symbolic building, pictures I took. These are all virtually all my own pictures in Jerusalem. If we dream of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, if we dream of a Russian Orthodox church, wooden Orthodox church in Karelia, in Kiji, which I visited twice. The current view, by the way, I do see Julie, by the way, you can choose your view to get the PowerPoint at the top right-hand side of the screen. It's really important so that you can see my presentation. I'm looking at the presentation and it's working. So it's any difficulty with seeing it, just adjust your local view. This is the Grand Hotel in Sheringham, where I live. It's about a mile away from where I'm talking to you. It was pulled down in the 1960s and wonderful place. And if I were to dream of a Soviet military barracks in East Berlin, which I have done at critical points in my life, or Trump's golf club in Ireland, a picture I took there, or an old chapel, or a house on the edge of a cliff, whatever it is, if a building, that's a kind of container for the soul and the self. And that's universal across cultures. Attics and cellars, a cluttered attic, a mucky cellar, a flooded cellar, wonderful metaphors for the mess in a client's life. And you can explore the interiority of those dreams as a way into the client's actual formative experience. Water, dirty water or clean water, a basement flooded, or a tsunami. In my experience, dreaming of very, very big waves is almost always a metaphor for overwhelming maternal presence. Certainly was with me. It's, again, dreams resonate across cultures, whatever background you come from, African, Asian, Aboriginal, Native American, European, Wall Street banker. These are ways of dreaming that human beings share as an evolutionary birthright. Quite how they're manifested is, of course, culturally determined by the environment that people live in. Baggage, however it's understood, is always a metaphor for stuff you're carrying from the past. Baggage, it's in our language, isn't it? That's a picture I took in 1972, leaving Moscow, or maybe, no, arriving in Moscow, I think. There's an old girlfriend of mine right in the middle of there, and one of those rucksacks is mine. That's 1972. There we go. The masculine and feminine, anima and animus in Jungian language is incredibly important. Male and female in dreams matters, really, really matters. Whatever people say these days about gender and so on, dreams are burned into the roots of evolution. And when we dream of a male, when we dream of a female, it has meaning. So take it seriously, yin and yang. This has been understood in cultures throughout history. The masculine and the feminine. The alchemists of the Middle Ages understood this as a metaphor. Well, they thought it was real, turning lead into gold. But that's what we do in therapy. We turn our clients' lead into gold. Jung writes a lot about this. So the alchemical union of masculine and feminine, the king, the Rex and Regina, the queen, the male in this cultural understanding resting on the sun. Sorry, the sun is the embodiment, if you like, in the metaphors of dreaming of the masculine, the moon being the metaphor for the feminine. I mean, there's lots of people who will argue with this, but I find it incredibly useful. If it doesn't work for you, fine. But these are root metaphors that have resonated through human culture pretty much since the beginning of recorded time. Gunge and SHIT. When people dream of mud, take it sort of metaphorically literally. It's gungy stuff that wants to be cleaned out. Shit, sort your shit out. How many of you have ever dreamt of shit in a dream? Just put your hand up, because I have repeatedly. Quite a lot of you. How many of you had clients who dream of shit? Uh, Probably, if you ask them, more than you realize, actually. Wonderful way into the stories. Monsters. How many of you have dreamt of monsters? How many of you have got clients who've dreamt of monsters? Well, that's just central to the human experience. And pursuers. Mary Jo Radcliffe, former nun with whom I've worked, and we're now good friends and colleagues much later in life. I'm editing her autobiography at the moment. She was a nun. She was a Catholic girl born into a very traditional English Catholic family, the only girl among six children. And her brother has just been made a cardinal in Rome, by the way, literally. She had these nightmares of being pursued by German soldiers. And we did an amazing piece of work where we did the transfer of perspective, which I'd love to illustrate to you later, into the German soldiers. And they were the masculine wanting to be known, because the masculine, as you can imagine, was very, very abusive and dominant and patriarchal in her family. And the feminine was extremely undervalued in its metaphorical sense, but also in its literal sense of women were just not taken seriously. So she went into a convent aged 17, hoping to find God. God didn't rock up. She left the convent 25 years later, and we did some amazing work. She's lovely, but she dreamt. One of the most powerful pieces of work we did was a piece on her dream of being pursued by German soldiers. Babies in the womb. If you dream of a conception or a birth or being pregnant, I've dreamt of being pregnant. I don't know how many, we're mostly female here, but men dream of being pregnant as a metaphor for a new idea, something that wants to be born. This I'm going to show you is literally the moment of conception of my goddaughter in a test tube. It's just amazing. This is Katie Heath-Tilford, our colleague who some of you know from the EMDR focus workshops. This is when her daughter, my now goddaughter, who is now 2.5, I think she's 2.5. This is the moment of her conception. There's two cells. Can you see them? Boing, they join. And then they go completely crazy. This is in real time. They're doubling, they're multiplying, and they go. Here we go. Look at that. That's what happens in the first few seconds of conception. And already there are thousands, tens of thousands of new cells. Absolutely breathtaking. So if you dream, or if your client dreams of birth, there's Catherine, our daughter, just newborn, there's our two boys. There's something that wants to be born. There's something's trying to be born. Take it seriously, but as a metaphor. Death, the other end of life. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the tarot, the Wader Right. I think this is the Wader Right tarot. And where our clients dream of death, it's something that needs to die, and something that needs to be killed off, perhaps an identity, a way of being in the world, so that something new can be born. And how many of you have had the experience of a grandparent dying almost at the same time as a grandson, a grandchild rocks up? I mean, it's happening all the time around us. So this cycle of birth, death replicates itself in dreams, but it's a metaphorical birth and a metaphorical death. The tower in tarot, if you dream of the tower, or maybe get the tower in a tarot reading, it's not my gig, that one. Personal meaning and wordplay. Dreams love playing with words, especially in the English language, where we have so many words that are spelt differently, but have profoundly different meanings. Here is a big dream I had in the mid-1980s when I was starting out on my journey of psychotherapy training. I dreamt of struggling through Korea, the country of Korea. I've been to North Korea. I haven't been to South Korea, but I've been to North Korea. I was trying to find my way to the capital of Korea. Now, do you know what the capital of South Korea is called? The capital of North Korea is Pyongyang. I was trying to get to the capital of South Korea. Anybody know what the capital of South Korea is called and how it's spelt? Yeah, you get it? Seoul. The capital of South Korea is Seoul. I was trying, my dream was showing I was looking for my soul. I was finding my way to my true self. It's as simple as that. Very late in life, nearly 30 years after I had the dream, a colleague on one of my workshops said, hang on a moment, how do you spell career? How do you spell career? Korea or Career? I had this dream when exactly in the year that I was leaving journalism, leaving the BBC, switching from being a correspondent to being an editor, and then switching from the BBC to being a psychotherapist. I was changing career. Isn't that clever? This week, I was working with doing a live session, a live demonstration session. And we were working with this incredibly powerful actual experience. It was a memory, but it could have been a dream. It had a dream quality to it. This 8-year-old is looking through a pane of glass at his mother and a nurse on the other side of a pane of glass. And the mother is tracing in the window, I'm sorry. She's been taken away by 2 nurses to a psychiatric establishment because she's, again, in England, we call it being sectioned. She's had a psychotic breakdown. And she's saying to her 8-year-old son, I'm sorry. How do you spell pain? How do you spell pain? You've got a window pane and you've got the other one, Pain. This memory has this dream quality to it. And if a client dreamt like that, I can promise you the dream is inviting you to explore the pain of the pain. Get it? That's how, I mean, honestly, your jaw just drops open and hits the floor sometimes with the wisdom of dreams. Lucid dreaming is very interesting. I don't do a lot of this, but I've got a colleague in Austria who specializes in lucid dreaming, where you could train yourself, and some clients do it organically, where you have consciousness in the dream and you can actually direct the dream in a particular direction. Clients will bring these things, and if they do have lucid dreaming, use the dreams. Dream completion, that's with Justin Havens, my very dear colleague in the UK who trains dream completion. I'm going to go through the extended interweave, the words of the extended interweave. And I know there's a lot of words coming up, but I'm just going to read them out. You've got the handout. If you haven't got it already, you're going to have it. It's certainly, part of the deal today. I want to just read it out. This is revision, really. Whether fresh or recurring, dreams are signals from the unconscious that there are stories and stuff that want to be worked on. Take them seriously as portals into the client's literal formative past. Every aspect of the dream, every object, every part, every dimension, every character, every projection, every building, every room is best understood as a part of the dreamer's self, also wanting to be known and integrated. Dreams are like an entry hallway into the narrative past, where any door taken can lead in powerfully healing directions. There's so many ways. However you work with a dream is going to be worth it. Every dream has got hundreds of ways of working with it. As Freud put it, dreams are the therapist's royal road to the client's unconscious. Buildings are houses of the self wanting to be explored. Water is usually a metaphor for emotion. Shit is a metaphor for messy psychological stuff, unfinished emotional business from the past, again wanting to be known and processed, as in, of course, sort your shit out. I'm sorting my shit out in therapy. Birth or pregnancy, metaphor for new experience or understanding wanting to be born. Death or threat of death, the dark figure with a machine gun dressed in a black coat, best understood as symbolizing what the deeper psyche knows to be the necessary ending of something, a pattern, a relationship, a dysfunctional identity. Monsters and pursuers, dark spaces, expressions of what Jung calls the shadow, again wanting to be known and holding richness and magic. Female dreamers, when dreaming of the masculine, any male figure, can be understood as working on their animus. In Carl Jung's language, the energy of the opposite sex. Male dreams of the feminine, the female, can be understood as the client's exploration of the anima, the Latin for soul. Animus anima. Jung wrote only about the animus, anima to start with, being of his misogynistic and patriarchal generation. And he did realize, and was pointed out, that the women have dreams too, but the metaphor works for women equally well. You know, working with women and men, for males and females, that's the experience I have. So now this is how to do it. Are you ready to go? This is my extended interweave, and I'll show you it working after the break. We'll answer some questions, because I've seen a few come up. We'll answer some questions when we come back from the break. The way I work with dreams, and Justin is with us. Justin, you're so welcome. And Justin teaches the dream completion, which is brilliant for nightmares. This takes us a level deeper. Ask the client to relate the dream in as much detail as they can in the present tense and from the I. Don't interpret or signal anything other than curiosity about the dream's details and story. So don't talk about it, just listen. Write the client's words down and narrative as faithfully as you can. Then with their eyes closed, repeat back, and these are the words I use. I'm now going to read your dream back to you in the present tense and in the first person, using your exact words as best I can. Correct me as I go if I've got anything wrong. Close your eyes. I always read it back with the client's eyes closed. And as I read it back, notice as you listen where the dream's energy is. Now, Laurel Parnell teaches or mentions dreams in her books. Francine Shapiro mentions dreams. They both see dreams as a way into trauma, looking for the worst part. That's fine with a nightmare. But most dreams aren't about worst parts. They're about energy, narrative, and metaphor. So therefore, the language is really important here. Notice as you listen where the dream's energy is. You don't want to judge it or ask the client to judge it as good or bad. You just, where's the energy? Don't interpret, analyze, discuss in any other way than a straight reading back of the dream's content as told with the exact language. And slow them down when they're telling you the dream to make sure you get the exact language. And then you can check your detail if you haven't understood something. Oh, I didn't understand that. So can you just say that one again? Ask then which single scene in the dream holds the most energy. If there are several powerful moments, note them down, not too many, and ask which of those is the single most powerful. You need one moment, one scene, not more, in order to start the processing. Don't use eye movements. We dream with our eyes closed. But sounds, buzzers, butterfly hug. I use sounds and buzzers on mine with bilateral bass. Or knee taps works really well. Today we're going to use the butterfly tap because I could set up bilateral bass, but it would be a bit complicated. Then you say, sorry, I need to go on to the next piece of wording. Now, checking with that moment, notice any emotion and where that might be happening in your body. Do not, in general, ask for a cognition, either negative or positive. Don't ask any numbers. Whatever you do, don't ask numbers. And you start processing. Allow the dream to go wherever it needs to go. And you can say, as you start to tap, we'll tap on that. Allow the dream to go wherever it needs to go. Notice whatever happens, let it happen. You do sets, and you work creatively with whatever comes up. They can be powerful metaphors in their own right. They can serve as a bridging point into actual childhood formative experience. Parts and so on can be explored with the transfer of perspective, which I'll come to before we're finished today. Asking the client to drop into the body shape of an object or being and view the dreamer from that perspective or bridge out of that object. And return to the dream before the end of the session. If there's time, it can be good to read it back to the client again. Sorry, I went to, that should now disappear, that bottom shading. Come back to the dream before the end of the session, and you can read it back to the client again and check how that now feels. I will just quickly show you how the transfer of perspective works, because I use it a lot. I may well use it today in the demo. So you have a miserable client who's got a monster in a dream or a wall in a dream. Hello, wall. And you can use the transfer of perspective to rise out of the body of the dreamer, looking down at the wall, down at the monster, and then dropping into the body and being of the object, because they're a part of self, and then actually working with the object. And you can bridge on back. The part knows where to take us. We do the bridge, and it takes us back to the actual formative stories we need to work on. We're being invited to work on. So this is the language. I'm very happy to give you the extended interweave, the wording. Being the part, the way you do that from within the part, the consciousness of the part, looking at yourself as observer dreamer on the one hand, now turn your attention to your own story, oh monster. Looking back way into childhood, as far as you can go without censoring it. Where do you land? What do you notice? So you can do standard bridge from the present experience, and then that's your target. Oh, I do get a return to the dream before the end of the session. There we are. So that's the end of the Yes with a Nightmare, Samantha. Yes, you would. Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant with a nightmare. Live session, when we get to it, it's okay to make mistakes. In England, we talk about making a dog's breakfast of things or going pear-shaped. You will see me making mistakes, I promise you, because that's how stuff works. But I've got a new slide, which was rather fun today. In America, I think you talk about things going south. So the therapy session can go south, but there's the dog's breakfast built into it. I got ChatGPT to do me an image of mixing going south and dog's breakfast. It was rather fun, so I put it in. But there's another one mapped onto my background, the mapping metaphors that I use in my core attachment-informed training. So when a therapy session goes south, it can often be a very useful thing to happen. So anyway, okay, so that's enough already from this lot.
So we're good on time. Should we take a break and then answer some questions? And then we also have a volunteer for the demo.
Okay, see you all in a moment. So welcome back to post-break, the next bit of our time together today.
Yeah, so Mark, this is a topic that I think you discussed in other workshops, and maybe you can spend a couple minutes talking about Becky's question, which is what might it mean and how much does it matter if the bridge yields older memory, so not younger than 7 years old? So
okay,
what happens then? And yeah,
it is really important in the sort of hierarchy, the taxonomy, if that's the correct word, the hierarchy of targets. I saw a comment you made, Rotem. I had a quick look at some of the earlier questions and whether there was a contradiction between go back as far as you can and first place you land. Mm-hmm. My bridge, and this is distilled from Parnell, is always, close the door. I use the same language every single time. Very, very tight and very distilled. I don't make up my own version of it. Well, I have made up my own version and I stuck to it for many, many years. It's what I train. So you fire up the point. If you're doing an ordinary bridge from presenting experience, the here and now, a client comes into therapy because they want to change something about how they experience themselves in the world. The question I asked you bring your awareness to an experience in your life at the moment that isn't going so well. You use that, and then the image, emotion, body, belief fires it up. You find the moment that has the most energy, not necessarily the worst moment. I mean, there are aspects to this where I really think the EMDR protocol needs reform. It hasn't changed in 35 years. The fundamental EMDR protocol needs reform of language, not fundamental principles, 8 phases and so on. But the language needs to change. But it's going to take time. Institutions take a long time to change. So the bridge using the modified protocol in the here and now is image, emotion, body, belief. So when you look at that image, what are you feeling? You can say, what's the emotion? Where are you feeling it? And what's the belief about yourself that goes with that? I use the same language all the time. You do not talk about it. You pump up the pressure. You don't let the buggers talk. You don't let clients talk about stuff. They tell you something and you ask the next question. As soon as you've got enough information, move to the next question. Image. I can perhaps show you this in action, but it's in support of the dreams approach. It's not central to the dreams approach itself. Image, emotion, body, belief. And then the language I always use is drop back in time, go back as far as you can, first place you land. 1, 2, 3. And the drop back in time has got a hard D on the front of it. This is, as I was saying to some NHS trainees yesterday, it is not a request, it's not an invitation, it's an instruction. Drop back in time. Let's not mess with things. You're going to drop back in time. That's what I'm telling you to do. Don't say, could you please, or something. Just drop back in time. It's got a hard plosive. Drop, D for drop, D. Drop back in time. You have to find a way of making it work for you and how your voice and personality works. I can be quite forceful. But, the nervous system likes actually somebody to know what they're doing and be reasonably focused. Drop back in time. Go back as far as you can. So you're asking both. Go back and the first place you land. So as far as you can go and the first. So it's both. It's not one or the other. You're not prioritizing one or the other. What you do not ask, think back to the first time in your life where you had that experience. For me, that is just not good work. I mean, that's the float back, and that's the language of Shapiro, and I think it needs to change. I'm very clear about that. Because you're asking the right brain to feel its way somatically back, usually into an emotional experience, a physical experience, not a cognitive experience. So drop back in time, go back as far as you can, first place you land. And if you do it well, it's breathtaking how efficient it is. Now, second question, if you land in an older memory, remember the 3 prongs of standard EMDR, past, present, and future. The present is determined by the past, and how the past is experienced in the present determines the future. So it's past, present, and future. Attachment-informed EMDR is built solidly on that neurobiological, developmental understanding of how the human nervous system works and gets to be the way it is. How does this person get to be the way they are? So if you are bridging, well, you can work with a later memory. Of course you can. Somebody comes with a car accident or a rape or a bomb attack or a terrible story in the UK today, an attack on Yom Kippur of all days, on a Manchester synagogue. 2 people have been killed in a ramming raid. Dreadful, dreadful story. And if somebody comes to you with that story, of course you start there. But the meaning that every individual nervous system makes of experience is informed by its own past, collective and personal, collective and individual. There are nervous systems that can come to terms with stuff, big and small, and they don't come to therapy on the whole because they metabolize an experience and move on healthily, possibly healthy, possibly unhealthily. But if people come to therapy, it's not because of the event itself, it's because of the meaning that the nervous system has made of the event. So the event continues to resonate. The nervous system can't metabolize it. It can't digest it. And the way the nervous system digests experience is determined in the womb, in the birth, in the early years, in the formative years of childhood. That's just how evolution works. So if you bridge back and find yourself in an adult memory, say 22 or earlier in life, listen carefully to what the underlying story is. Don't dismiss it. Don't make the client wrong. You may start processing there, or you may say, do you know what? I think by the time that was happening, this was already an old friend. This was familiar territory to you. Do you know what? I think we need to go back further. The thing is that if you're doing attachment-informed EMDR, you'll find your clients coming to you with recommendations from other people who've done it as well. They'll be expecting you to go deep. I was listening to a podcast, Very Bad Therapy. Its first episode in 2022, it's about 50 episodes. It's really good. Its very first episode is about bad EMDR. It's somebody who was having an experience of trauma and distress in the present, and they had a lot of therapy, and memories of childhood abuse were coming up, of dysfunction in the family system. And they went to an EMDR therapist looking for EMDR. The EMDR therapist basically took a bit of a trauma history. Second session says, okay, we're going to do some EMDR. It really works. Tell me about the abuse. What's the worst bit? NCPC, VOC, watch it was one of these, Justin. It was one of these. It was in America. watch the eye movement. Went straight in, no preparation, no understanding, and it was catastrophically dysfunctional. So this client was presenting, wanting trauma-focused therapy to sort his childhood out. And he got, out of the box, standard EMDR, find a nasty thing, switch the tappers on, and hope for the best. I think that's grossly irresponsible. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest dangers of simple, protocol-driven EMDR without really being radically curious about the roots. So if a client presents or bridges into a later experience, an older experience, have that radical curiosity. What could this really be about? Don't pathologize it. Don't make the client wrong. Start processing perhaps, but be prepared very soon not to think back with the float back. I hate the term float back. Rotab and I talk about this. I absolutely hate the term float back because it's an invitation to the left brain to analyze. Drop back in time. You don't even use the term bridge. I mean, you don't need to use any term. You just tell the client what to do. I think we need to go back further. Those of you who don't know it, I use the metaphor of this, the DeLorean. This is my personal DeLorean. I'm the driver. I'm the driver. Okay. The client is the navigator. They've got the roadmap, but I know how the thing works. So we crash back into their past and then sort it out and come back to the present in
Mark,
the same session.
We have
Okay.
a few more questions. How
Long
do you
answer.
conceptualize night terrors?
Night terrors are a story wanting to be known. They are a fundamental nervous system response to feeling overwhelmed and not safe. The amygdala has only got two settings, basically, safe, not safe. And it processes 2 million bits of incoming information per second. And it determines safe, not safe on the basis of species, evolutionary, but also personal experience. It checks back with the database, with the internal virtual world. So night terrors are telling us something not necessarily about horrible, big, nasty trauma, but the nervous system at critical points in early life didn't feel safe. And that isn't necessarily because they had a bad mother or, a terrifying mother, or it's not necessarily a story of abuse. It's just a sense of the nervous system not being resonated with by a safe adult who can do the frontal cortex affect regulation on behalf of the infant. So it's an evolutionary survival response. So be radically curious. Let's use it as a bridge. Welcome the terrors, welcome the feelings, welcome the objects that turn up, the characters in the drama. Welcome it and say, this is our way in to the story. And then you want to find it into a literal set of formative experiences, a real childhood. It's always going to be childhood informed.
Thank you, Mark. Rebecca was curious about incest dreams.
That's really interesting. Rebecca, could you say a bit more? Yes, I mean, I haven't actually ever worked with an incest dream. I've worked with clients who've had incest experiences, being abused by a family, by a sibling, absolutely 100%, or by parents. Tell us a bit more about what you mean by incest dreams.
Just that I find them to be common at times
Okay.
amongst clients, personally, professionally, without having a known history of incest. So I was just kind of curious if that was anything that you had noticed come up.
Take it as a metaphor.
Kind of put that with maybe sex dreams too. I mean, obviously, I understand there can be a vast difference, but I just was kind of curious about that. Because those, I think, are the incest ones. I think people are just like, oh my God. They freak out, and so I thought I would love a different perspective on that.
Well, let me, Rebecca, can you be, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to tell you, Rebecca, in front of everybody else, a dream I had many years ago, that I have never told anybody, not even my wife, let alone my therapist. Can I tell you my dream? I can't remember the detail.
Please.
But I'm the eldest of 4 children. I have 2 brothers, next 2 down, and a sister who's 7 years younger than me. So I'm born 1950. My brother's born 18 months later in 1951. And our collective younger brother is born in 1954, and my sister is born in 1967. 57. So about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I had a dream of a kind of Brokeback Mountain mountain with my brother. I was actually I didn't tell you the detail, but it was like Brokeback Mountain. I might have even seen the dream around that time. I hadn't made that association before. But I was having sex with him, male on male sex. Woke up very unsettled. I haven't told him this story because he's not a psychotherapist. He might, he thinks I'm completely nuts anyway. So, it might just confirm his view of his older brother. But what do you think, Rebecca? In the context of everything I've been sharing with you today, taking the metaphor to go down into the dream, what do you think it might mean? I might ask the rest of the group.
I was going to say, I'd love to open that up. The reason I'm here is because I'm so bad at metaphors. I think I just get so stuck in that literal.
Okay. This is not literal, by the way. I am
right.
I am as heterosexual as they come. I really am. End all.
Right. You said, though, I mean, I like this challenge. You said you're one of four.
I'm the eldest.
You're the eldest. Okay.
Might be a clue
and I've
in
seen
there.
Brokeback Mountain, so I do remember, if we're talking about the actual sex scene, there's a power dynamic in that scene.
Yeah. I think warm.
Yeah, I think there's a connection between maybe something around kind of a power dynamic of eldest sibling. Sibling dynamics, birth order.
But also, if you take Brokeback Mountain, I hadn't made that connection with Brokeback Mountain. There's an aching for connection with the masculine. My father was catastrophically absent in my childhood. He was sent to boarding school at 6 from British India. And he never really became a man, bless his cotton socks. He died at 87. He never was able to model. He wasn't abusive or anything, but just he sort of wasn't even there. In many ways, he was a very kind man, but he wasn't a kind of a male of the species. Some people might experience me sometimes as a male of the species, arrogant, full of himself. That's the kind of feedback I get. So if I were now to explore the meaning of the dream with you as my therapist, it's an incest dream, but it's not about the actual incest. It's about the relationships in the family system, which are the formative crucible in which I became who I am. But it's something about something that wants to be known. I would put it down, and what you would do with me if you were my therapist and we were working on the dream, even if you haven't a clue what it means, Rebecca, this is the brilliance of this way of working. You say to me, Mark, I tell you what, I've been on this ridiculous workshop with this chap called Mark Brayne. Oh, the same name, strange. Can we try this weird dream extended interweave thingy? So what I'm going to do with you is this useful, by the way? It's a classic case. When you first do this with somebody, you won't have a clue where it's going, and don't have a clue to start with. Just approach the dream with a completely open curiosity. You don't have to know the meaning of the dream. Now, the more you work with dreams, the better you'll get at saying, oh, we know what that one's about, don't we? You to say to yourself to start with. I've got clients with whom I've done so many dreams, and they bring a dream, and we look at each other and say, yeah, okay, fair enough, and move on. We don't even do the work because it's blindingly obvious. You all know my favorite diagnosis, don't you? NBW. You've got PTSD, OCD, MDD, everything else that comes along with the territory of being a therapist, and DSM-5 and so on. NBW is my favorite diagnosis, which is no bloody wonder. Well, duh. Of course So the dreams once you start working with clients with dreams, they get simpler and simpler. And it's as if the dream self of the client says, oh my God, they're interested. Let's deliver some really full-on dreams. There's a very well known in the field of Jungian psychotherapy, which works with dreams a lot. How many of you are familiar with Jung? Carol, yeah, quite a few. Great. And you'll know that Jungian clients very quickly start having Jungian dreams. It's a bit of a cliche. It's absolutely true. And I think, yes, Carol Anna, that's nice. Your EMDR therapist is a Jungian analyst. It's a marriage it's a psychotherapeutic marriage made in heaven. So once you get the language of the client's dreams and you start working with them, it becomes such an enrichment of the work. The first time, if those of you who are new to this do it for the first time, don't worry. If you were working with me and I come with a full-on dream like that, feel free to freak out internally, but not externally. Say, Mark, do you know what? Can I try something? In fact, actually, Rebecca, have you got the handout? Would you like just for a moment? I can't remember another detail of the dream. I mean, it's all gone. The rest of it's gone. If you'd asked me the few days later, I would have had the context. But just everybody listen carefully. Rebecca's now going to work with a real client, and we're not going to do any work with it. Even I won't go that far, even despite being autistic. I do that kind of crazy thing sometimes. So, what are you going to ask me, Rebecca? How are you going to take the next step? I've told you do you know, Rebecca, I had this ridiculous dream last night, a couple of nights ago. I have no idea. I'm really freaked out by it. Whoa, my family system and so on, but whoa, that doesn't make sense.
So I'd love to maybe explore this a little bit more with you.
Okay.
And if it's comfortable, if you can just describe the dream in as much detail as you can, coming from your own self perspective, using I language.
Okay. Don't package it too much, Rebecca. When you switch gear to work with a dream, don't be too tentative.
So well, this is a little on the spot. So.
No, it's very much on the spot. Yeah, you could probably get some therapy on this afterwards before it's being triggered in you. But what I would say is, so is it okay if I just reflect back just with a slight adjustment?
Please, yeah.
So I'll just reverse. Okay, Mark. So you're Mark now, and we'll switch roles. Is this useful to everybody? Is everybody with us? This is for real. I mean, this is how I'd invite you to have a go with the next dream that a client brings in. Yeah, Mark, if it might feel a bit weird, might feel a bit uncomfortable, don't say if you're comfortable.
Oh,
because the client might say, no, I'm not. You don't want them to say that. It might flag up. It might be a bit uncomfortable. But what we're going to do is let's have a go at working with the dream and see what it wants to communicate. Maybe there's something in here that's sort of quite deep, meaningful. It might feel a bit weird at the moment, might feel dead weird. I mean, we've talked about your relationships, and I know that that's not a territory that you've ever explored or felt you've wanted to explore. You're very heterosexual, but you've had this dream, so maybe it means something. Should we give it a go? Can you hear what I'm doing? I'm preparing the ground with language that facilitates and normalizes and welcomes, including I've had this terrible night terror. Same language, exactly the same language. I mean, I've only got it very distilled on the paper here because there isn't space to put more on one side of paper. So, okay, then you've switched gear, Rebecca, and you said, I would encourage you to use the words, yeah, okay, so tell me the story in as much detail as you can, in the present tense, and from the I. So Rebecca, do you want to ask me to close my eyes next?
Yeah, so go ahead and close your eyes and just relay as much of the dream back to me as you can.
Okay. By the way, little flag. Did everybody hear Rebecca use the word just? Don't.
Where did I use that?
Just relay the dream back in as much detail as you can.
Okay. You are very like your directiveness.
Yeah.
I'm being too...
Just blunts the edge.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you just drop back for me in time? No.
Yeah.
Be really careful about the word just. It's one of those words that signals awkwardness. It's just be very alive to your desire, your instinct to use the word just. I do it all the time, Rebecca. I do it all the time. Okay. So I'll close my eyes. Yep. Okay. So let me make up a bit of the dream. And try and mirror. So I'm in this experience. I'm out in the open somewhere, and my brother Hugh, who's 18 months younger than me, and I know actually we're indoors somewhere, and it's pretty shocking, but I'm actually having sex with him, sort of as if he's a woman. Oh dear, oh dear. And I wake up pretty horrified. So, Rebecca, the ball's in your court. Sometimes you have a fragment, only a fragment. Sometimes it goes on forever and ever and ever, and you have to write 3 pages of it, write the whole thing down. But sometimes it's just a fragment.
I feel like, so I was actually looking, and it says to kind of write down what the client is relaying. And so in my, nervous system right now that's being put on the spot, I missed the very beginning sentence, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat back to you what I heard. And please correct me if there's anything that I don't get correct. But
Good.
you're indoors
Brilliant.
somewhere with your brother.
You want to ask me to close my eyes?
Okay.
And did colleagues notice the first words that Rebecca used? You're indoors with your brother.
No.
It shifts the dynamic dramatically if you use the I. It's amazing the difference.
Oh, so when we're...
I'm going to speak. I'm going to read it back to you.
Okay.
It's actually on my script. I'm now going to read your dream back to you in the present tense and in the first person.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Don't worry about, getting it wrong or stumbling around. These are things that my supervisees and trainees regularly miss. And the difference between using you and I is profound in how it lands in our old friend, the nervous system. Remember, you're speaking to the nervous system, not through the client, to the nervous system. The nervous system, the whole team in the background is listening carefully, and the language and the tonality and the prosody really matter. Okay, so so just reboot that bit.
Okay. So I'm going to read your dream back to you in the present tense and first person. And just please correct me if there's anything.
Did you hear just, everybody?
Did I say just?
You said just. Sorry.
I love this. This is bringing me back to my old school video recording.
It makes such a difference.
I agree.
Okay, right. Never mind.
All right. Close your eyes.
Great.
Close your eyes as I read this back and just notice.
You said it again.
Oh, God. All right. Notice as you listen where the dream's energy is.
Okay.
I'm with my brother indoors somewhere. We're having sex almost as if he were a woman.
Did I say we're having sex? Did I use those words?
That's what I wrote down.
Okay. It's
I'm
interesting.
guessing you did, because I missed you. You named something before.
It's interesting.
That.
If I were hearing it back, we're not having sex. I'm screwing him.
Oh, okay.
The dynamic of it, he is not a willing or he's not even present. That's really interesting. You see, everybody just listen carefully to this. It's such a good example. I mean, I literally have never, ever talked about this to anybody, but it's a really powerful example of the energy that can be wanting to be unpacked in a dream. I used the word we're having sex. As I heard Rebecca coming back, I realized, no, we're not having sex. I'm almost raping him. Flipping heck. This is 20 years later, Rebecca. This is for real. Talking back to you now, actually, I'm sort of raping my brother. Bloody hell. I mean, I can feel the emotion of that. Isn't that interesting?
That is fascinating, because absolutely that has a totally different place in the body, right? And so I absolutely understand now why it's so important to try to get it as accurately as possible.
Yeah. And a client may sort of resonate, may bridle, may have a moment like that. You've got your entry point. I mean, metaphorically and literally, in a sense. And of course, what the sex act is, especially for the male, is to penetrate another being, to want to be part of, to want to be welcomed into that other space. That's why sex is so different from the masculine and the feminine perspective. The dynamic, the meaning of sex, the sex act, is fundamentally different. And isn't it interesting? I'm talking about raping a male. So you've got the confusion of the masculine, the confusion of the male. It's been my whole life journey, is finding the safe masculine that doesn't overpower, that's kind, but is still strong and kind and gentle. Talk to my wife about this stuff. You know, we've been on a 50-year journey doing this stuff, and she's finding the feminine. You know, it's not the story. Can you all sense just how deep and how quickly you can go? It takes the breath away. Rebecca, I think you've probably been in the spotlight. You've been on stage long enough now, but thank you so much.
But absolutely. Thank you. It's to me, I think this was a wonderful example to use, because I think it could go so many different places.
And it could go anywhere,
So,
but the point is you start
thanks,
there.
everybody.
And then you trust the dream to take you where you need to go. Then Rebecca, you're on your own. Then I can't help you, other than encouraging you to be bold and be structured as well. Keep coming back to the dream. Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca. There are a few requests. If you have a one-page PDF of the Dream Interweave that you can share.
Put it in the chat. Oh, yeah. I'll drop it in the chat. Yeah.
Also, I want to say that we're almost 2 hours in, and I think we should start our demo. And what's nice about our courses and our course space or workshop space is that you can keep asking questions later. You can tag Mark, and Mark will answer your questions. So if you have something after they want to ask, or you want to share, you try something, we have the course space. We have the workshop space in the EMDR learning community, so we can keep the conversation going. And I have monthly open space sort of consultation spaces, at least through to Easter. I'm trying to retire. It's one of my biggest failures in life so far. I'm not very good at it, but I'm doing monthly open spaces for 2 hours and monthly live session workshops where we do a live session. People bring your questions and we illustrate them and do them and then talk about them. And then there's space for you to go and do pair work where I can come in and sort of, correct you and scare the shit out of you. Okay, right. Right. So we are ready to get back. And Alex, are you still up for doing that?
Yes, I'm still up for it.
Hello there. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello there. Very good to see you.
Good to see you, Mark.
Alex, just before we start, there was a couple of questions I did see there. Julie did ask what energy the dream wants to have. No, where's the energy in the dream? That wasn't language I used. Where is the energy in the dream?
One thing before we start, if a dream sort of haunts you, it could be spirit coming to you.
Okay.
So that's one of my dreams. And that would be about my dad. And then another one is a more recent one.
So just a quick check. First prize for doing this session. Second prize is you get a follow-up.
Oh, nice.
Okay. You get to follow it up as a sort of a moment of gratitude and appreciation of this unfinished business. I'm very aware doing these live. It's a huge general the colleagues who are willing to do this in these groups, and just as a little token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Mind you, you may never want to work with me again, because that's a possibility too. So this is not a requirement. You don't like to. Actually, Alex, just before we start, could you just tell me absolute basic headlines about family, siblings, and where you are in the hierarchy? That's probably enough basic background.
Okay, I'm youngest of three girls.
Yep. Did parents together through childhood or not?
Yes,
Okay,
they were,
great.
yeah, raised in childhood,
Yep.
similar but different backgrounds.
Okay.
Father went off to war
Okay.
and was in the prison camp.
Oh, right. Actually, that is relevant.
Yeah, it is.
Just an autobiographical detail. Could you tell me a time about that? Where was he
Well, he
in
would have
prison?
come back with PTSD, not recognized then or ever in a time.
With Japanese POW
No,
or
Germans.
Germans? Okay, what years and
Prisoner
where
of
was he?
war, like a POW.
Yeah, yeah.
So it would have been at the end of the war. That was in for 18 months.
80. Actually, that's
Yeah,
good to know. You know, the intergenerational piece, it's in the mix, and it's going to
you
inform
bet.
the symbology of your dreams and so on. And it's really important to who you are, not just epigenetically, but the whole sort of way you've been marinated and cooked. Any big thing? I don't know if you know the movie. Rotem and I are talking a lot these days about the capital AI, artificial intelligence. It's really interesting to work with. Do you know the movie Her? Do you know the one from 2014, I think, or 2013? It's about artificial intelligence over 10 years ago. Very good.
I
And
think that's on our list to watch. That's
I would
really
encourage you to
interesting.
watch it. But the
Okay.
fascinating thing is when there's a new operating system, they call it an OS. It's a new operating system. Our hero has this new operating system, and it gives it the name Samantha. They agree together this thing is going to be called Samantha. And Samantha asks him, "I need to know a little bit about you. And first of all, okay, so just tell me a bit about your mother." And our hero, Theodore, I think, says, well, my mother, yeah, it was always about her in childhood. You know, she loved us a lot, but it was always about her. And Samantha says, that's fine. Okay, don't need to know anything more about you at all. The rest of the film, that's all he needed to know. I rest my case about this all being about maternal attachment. Quick headline on your mum, briefest of headlines. The reason I'm asking you, Alex, is, if we're working on a dream for real, in the context of continuing therapy, I know this. And so just a headline, one headline that might be relevant to our work together in this time.
I might say she's the typical young woman war bride with privilege.
Okay. Did they meet before your father was on?
Yep, they went
Was it
to school together,
Okay.
although he was from the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak.
Okay. And just for my curiosity, whereabouts in the States was this? Where did they?
No, it's just in Canada.
Oh, in Canada,
Winnipeg.
sorry. Canada.
Yeah,
Winnipeg. North
Manitoba,
America, I should have said, sorry.
prairies.
That's a
Yeah.
real put in it moment. Sorry about that. I knew, of course,
Okay.
you were Canadian and talked about that before. Right. Okay. So, Alex, should we give it a go?
Sure.
Tell me your dream. So, the way we're going to do this, and I'll use the language that I would use if we were doing this for the first time. And I might say something like, it's really interesting that we've been working, the work we've done so far. And I hope we've cleared one or two targets. We've done a little bit of work. I hope we made a progress, and it's a bit of progress. It's really interesting that you've had this dream. What I'd like to suggest today is that we work with the dream, we welcome the dream and see where it wants to take us, see what the dream might be about, not to analyze it, but to use it as a way into your story, into pieces of your story that are waiting and wanting to be rewired, to be sorted. Freud talks about dreams as the royal road to the unconscious. And while I don't work in a Freudian way, Freud wasn't wrong about everything. So, Alex, what we're going to do is, if you tell me your dream, I'll invite you to do it in the first person and in the present tense. If I've got it on there, you don't need to relate the dream first time around with your eyes closed. We do it eyes open. And so you're telling me the dream, and you're looking at me and telling me the dream. So starting at the beginning, Tell me your dream, and I'll write it down as accurately as I can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it back to you, and we're going to work with it. Okay, let's give it a go.
It begins in sort of a mist,
Is this, by the
white.
way, I meant to say, is it a repeating dream? How recently did you have the
No,
dream?
it's not a repeating dream.
Mm-hmm.
I had it about 8 years ago.
Okay, so it's a dream that you had some time ago and it stayed with you. You can
Right.
absolutely work with fresh dreams, with repeated dreams, with older dreams, or with childhood dreams. They're all good to work with. Even really young childhood dreams, you can work with any dream that wants to present itself. The dream begins
Okay.
in a mist, you said.
Yes, but yet in a house. So there are at least 2 rooms in the setting. And my father comes in, and I say to him, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead." And there's, and then the next thing I think I say is, "You can't let mom know." And he says he's coming back to get his book, this book that meant so much to him. Ironically, it was called The Great Escape.
Oh, I know the book. Mm.
Yeah. And so in the dream, he's sort of searching for the book, and he's sort of
He's searching for the in the house, as it were, in the space,
in
in the
these
dream,
in
in these
this
rooms.
in the main room. Yeah.
He's searching for the book in the main room. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just need to ask, is this a familiar house? Is it a house you know?
I don't remember really anything about the two
It's just a
rooms.
house. It's just 2 rooms, a house.
Yeah.
So he's searching for the book, The Great Escape, in the
Okay.
main room. So the rooms,
Right.
there's a main room and there's a kind of subsidiary room.
Yeah, yeah, there's a main room, a doorway, and I guess I'm kind of in the doorway.
I'm in the
Now,
doorway as the dreamer.
yeah, so I come into the room saying, "What are you doing here?"
I come into the room, right? Okay. Mhm.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, the mist, the fog, uh, really takes away from else is in the room.
Do you have a sense whether it's day or night? I'm wanting to have a clearer picture in my own imagination, my own reconstruction of your story as I can. Do you have a sense of what time
I
of day
guess
it
I'd
is?
say daytime,
Daytime,
like
okay.
there aren't any lights on.
Mm-hmm. What happens next?
And so I have a feeling of he can't be seen.
He can't be seen.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how mom will react.
Yeah.
And so in the dream, he's sort of staggering, unbalanced.
He staggers. He's staggering. You say, yeah? Staggering,
Yeah,
unbalanced.
his
Okay.
balance is poor. And yeah,
Okay. And
that's all I remember.
then you wake up. Well,
Yeah,
then you wake up, or that's all you. Mhm. Have you had this dream more than once, or was just the one off that stayed with you?
just once.
I'm just going to ask for context. 8 years ago, I'm just curious, it might help. Is there anything big happening in your life at that time?
Well, he would have died. So it would have
Relatively
been,
recently at that point, or
yeah, I think a year or two past his death.
okay.
And he was what do they call it? A war vet. place for those that are dying.
Hospice, sort of a
Not a
military,
hospice,
not a
though.
hospice, like but an old people's home, as it were, for
Right.
veterans.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's where he actually died.
And he wanted out. My mother wouldn't let him.
He wanted out of this home.
Yeah.
And your
He
mother
wanted to
wouldn't let him.
come home, but my mother wouldn't let him.
Okay. And you have the dream a couple of years or so after he's actually died.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is invite you to close your eyes. I'm going to read the dream back to you as authentically as I can in the present tense, and using your language on the I, not you. Okay, and my invitation to you is, as I'm reading it, it's just to notice where the energy is. Just notice what happens as I read it back to you. If I've got anything wrong, feel free to correct me. If anything significant comes up, feel free to add extra detail. Are you ready to go?
Okay.
Okay, Alex, thanks. The dream begins in there's a kind of mist, but yet it's in a house with at least 2 rooms. My father comes in and I say to him, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead." The next thing I say is, "You can't let Mum know." He says he's coming back to get a book that meant so much to him, The Great Escape. He's searching for the book in the main room. And the mist really takes away from what else is in the room. It seems to be daytime. There's no lights on. I have a feeling that he can't be seen. It's dangerous. I don't know how Mum will react. In the dream, he's staggering, unbalanced. His balance is poor. And that's the end of the dream. Where do we start? What's the moment that has the maximum energy?
In telling it to you, I'm just like vibrating all over and really, really cold. But
okay.
If we
pause the sort of video, the recording of the dream. By the way, forgive me, I would normally, and I should have, made sure we've got your resource figures in place. Nurturing figures, protector figures, and wise figure. So if we need them, I hope you've got them available. I would normally have done that. We'd have done it at the beginning of therapy. I'd have them available. I've done it as I would do it, as if we were working, week after week over a period of time. So working with the dream as you present it, but there would be a background. There would be more in place for us to do this piece of work. Don't just barrel straight in. We would need the team. I would always do the team first. But so right now you're vibrating all over. Have you got, by the way, tissues just in case, Alex? We might hit some.
I've got a glove.
Okay. Could you just get yourself, if you get tissues or even loo paper or a roll of toilet paper?
Okay.
You never know. You never know.
Did I take my glasses off?
You can, absolutely. Yes, please
they're
do.
just reading glasses.
And we're going to do the butterfly tap, which you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of like this, and the tips of the fingers is good on the collarbone, and sort of resting the palm of your hand against the sternum, the breastbone, and just relax into it. Shall I just take you through how I encourage people to do the? So I would normally do it at the beginning, so we'd already know how to do this. I haven't sort of stopped the dream at this point, but no harm done. We're doing dual attention, by pausing to be robust and tissues and a glass of water or whatever. And, we're actually encouraging your frontal cortex to stay online. So we're doing the in and the out of classic EMDR. This is part of the dance that we do. So hands up facing you, and then they meet each other and the thumbs cross each other halfway. Try again, keep them upright. Keep them upright. And if you're right hand, the right hand behind the left hand, and the thumbs meet. Keep going. Thumbs then cross. That's it. The thumbs cross. Got them? And then you can hook in. There you go. Yeah. That's the, and this is the priest, and there's the steeple or something. And then the base of the heel of your wrist on the sternum here, and the tips of the fingers sort of on the collarbones. And we're going to tap at, is that okay? Can you feel it? We're going to tap robustly. So I'm going to invite you to be fairly robust. You can really feel it. Tap, 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 tap. And do it at heartbeat speed. Now, I don't use butterfly taps in my work because I use bilateral bass. But this is a very robust, business-like, no nonsense. We're going to get stuff done. Yeah. So it's very directive. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Nice and safe, solid, yeah, it's good solid work here. Well grounded, it is quite powerful, the butterfly tap. Okay, so just for a moment I'll tell you when to start and stop. So let's take you back. If you close your eyes, I've just read the dream back to you. Which moment, as your body vibrates, which snapshot scene, moment in the dream has the most energy? Where should we start? Freeze frame picture.
Well, initially it would be the shock of seeing my father, and then it would be the fear that he is seen.
Should we take that moment, the start at that moment, the shock of seeing your father, that picture, and now just notice what you're feeling, notice what you might be thinking, notice any body sensations. We're going to trust your nervous system and the dream to take us where we need to go. Just start there and notice what happens, and let whatever happens happen. So off you go. Pause anytime you like, but we'll do about 30-second sets or so.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, to take a pause. Okay, feel free to keep your eyes closed between sets. If you want to open them, that's fine as well, but whichever feels right for you. Just pause with the tapping for a second. Let's just check in. What are you getting? What are you noticing?
I was noticing real sadness when I saw my father.
Let's stay with that. Just trust the process. Doing great. Just let it unfold. Just tap on it. With your eyes closed. Now with your eyes closed. Take a pause. That's okay. If I interrupt anything, by the way, feel free just to keep tapping.
I could do shorter sets, but
I want to let it sort of settle a bit. But okay, maybe a bit shorter. What are you getting? What are you getting? What do you notice?
Kind of sadly, but assertively saying, "You can't be here." Yeah. Afraid for him.
Mm-hmm.
And sad that he can't be here.
Okay. So many different ways we could go here. Let's just pause for a second. I'm closing my eyes because I'm just sort of tuning in. These are choice points in attachment-informed EMDR. There's so many directions we could go. I would know more, obviously, Alex, if we were working together, about what your presenting issues are, why you're in therapy. So let me just ask you here, as you're in the dream, I'm going to use the video interweave, which you may recall from the workshops. The video interweave I use a lot. So we've started the dream. We've got a sense there's a lot of potential in this dream. I need now a bit of a perspective on it. So can I invite you to look at that scene and imagine you're looking at it through a magic video camera, which can zoom in and zoom back out, and it can remember back and remember forward. So looking through the viewfinder of that video camera, looking at your dad coming back and your sense you can't be here and your fear, as the video camera pans back out and looks at that metaphor, if you like, in the context of, Alex, of your developmental story, the youngest of 3 girls, your dad's history. I'm just curious what you see, what comes into view, whatever it is.
I guess like using stepping stones, I would go back 10 years, 5 years. If I went way back, I would see myself and my dad in bed.
Mm-hmm.
I used to come in early, and he would tell me stories.
How old are you in this memory?
About 4 or 5.
Just go with that.
Yeah.
Just go with that. And just notice how that is. And let's tap on it. Just letting it unfold. Let's take a pause. Was that length all right?
Mhm.
What are you getting?
It was a cozy time for me.
Yeah.
He was a great storyteller.
Okay.
It was a special time.
If we run in that story, if we run the story forward from the 4 or 5-year-old, youngest of 3 girls, dad, great stories. Just running the video forward, I guess I'm curious what, again, comes into view right now.
I guess the time when I was about 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in bed with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister came in saying, taking me out of there.
She's taking you out of there.
Yeah, I think she's calling me out or something, and then tells me I'm too old to be in bed with my dad.
Okay, just go with that. Just follow that. We're just curious, jointly curious about what's wanting to be known. Say when. Pause in your own time. I'm also a slightly, occasionally chaotic and dysfunctional male, a complex male. And I just wonder about your dad and this relationship between little Alex and her dad, and the complexity of it, and the longings of it, and the specialness of it, the warmth of it, the journey with this male, with this father. How does that land with you? This is a relational interweave. How does that land with you?
I think you are right on. I felt very close.
Do you want to just tap on that? Just tap on that. And again, in your own time, Alex. Don't rush it, but fine to take a pause when you're ready. What you getting?
I'm thinking, remembering, or looking back, it was very wise of my sister. Because, I was in puberty. I was,
Yeah.
and he was giving me a back rub.
All right.
Yeah, and it didn't feel safe.
Just tap on that. The complexity of childhood and of parents and fathers and war and relationships and families. Just tap on it, perhaps with compassion. Just be curious. And pause at a moment that's good for you. What are you noticing, Alex?
I'm very thankful to my sister. I don't think what my dad was doing was right. And I didn't know how to stop him.
Okay. I'm going to pause you for a moment, Alex. Can I invite you out, given that we're working here with our colleagues in an educational setting, and I talk about, we talk about dual attention. Well, there's triple attention. You're both client and adult in the here and now, but you're also an EMDR therapist. So can I invite you to sort of just step out of the story, perhaps into your EMDR therapist self as well as adult Alex? I just want to share I might do this with a client for real. I'm going to risk sharing with you a bit of speculation based on my experience and intuition about what might be going on here. I could leave it to the end of the session and keep the thoughts to myself and let them inform our continued work. But I think here at this point, for the sake of our colleagues and you and me in the work that we're doing, I just want to share with you some of the sort of stuff that's going on in my mind. I don't see this as abuse at any level. what I sense, I mean, unless there's other things that I need to know, but what I'm sensing is a male a bit lost in his masculinity. He's got a childhood story around the feminine and the masculine and the male and the female. He's been in a war camp with men at a critical time in his life. I'm a male, and I know how important it is to the male longs for the female, and the female longs for the male. This is part of this, the reproductive dynamic, but it's also at a very profound level of meaning. The male and the masculine, the feminine and the female. My sense of your dad is here's somebody who's quite profoundly wounded in his masculinity, his childhood story, his wartime story. And I'm curious about his relationship with your mother, with the dynamic between them. War babies, both of them, carrying stories of family and their time. You're the youngest of three girls, really important. So your father is the only male in the family system. That's really significant. And so my speculation here, so this is informing my interweaves and my structure of where we go next. I wouldn't say all of this to a client, but I think for transparency, so that we know what's happening here, I am really interested in the masculine dynamic that you've internalized. Your little girl is loving daddy. There's a big book about this, by the way, Sex in the Forbidden Zone. It's a brilliant book about the dynamic between father and daughter, and particularly king and princess and so on. And the father's job, and I would say this to a client as well, father's job is to allow the little girl to love him, but as she comes towards puberty, to turn her around, not to let that space between them become sexualized at any level. At any level. He needs to turn her around with a sense of her own worth, facing the outside world, so that she can choose a prince, in the metaphor, in the archetype, who's worthy of her. And she knows her own boundaries, she knows her own femininity, she knows where, and so on. So this little girl, aged, it's interesting, 11, 12, well into puberty at that point. And so your father is longing for something, rubbing your back. He's longing for something profound in the feminine. So what I'm going to do, this is the thoughts I've got up. So now I'm going to go back into work. Is that okay? I don't need you to come back. Just notice the resonance. We might have talked about these things in an earlier session, because I would have got to know a bit about your dad, beforehand. That's interesting. He's rocked up in your dream. He is a part of you. He's not literally your dad. I mean, I don't personally do spirits and past lives and future lives and so on, but that's fine if that works. But he's absolutely part of your neurobiology. He's a being, as it were, in your nervous system. Of course he is, as is your mother. So I'm going to experiment with something. Can I do that?
Sure.
Right now, let's go back into the dream. Let's go back to target. So we're going back to target. Great, you've closed your eyes. I want to go back to that moment where we started, back to target. You can't be here. You can't be in this space. Mum, you can't let Mum know. And I'm afraid for him. Let's just do a transfer of perspective. As you look at your dad in the dream, can you see him? Imagine you're conscious, just notice what's going on for you as the observer, the dreamer. Now imagine your conscious awareness rising up out of you, the dreamer, a bit like being on a drone, and you're hovering over the dream space with your father in the room there and yourself in the doorway, your dreamer self in the doorway. Just notice how old you are in the doorway. Just notice. And notice now, imagine your conscious awareness, your point of view, your perspective, dropping gently down into the body and being of your father. From within his being, with access to his thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, memories, perspective, looking out through his eyes at Alex in the doorway, and urgently searching for the book. Urgent is the word that I used. I hope that's appropriate. Searching for the book, The Great Escape. I'm just going to ask you to tap on that and notice whatever you notice. The dream is wanting something to be communicated, to be understood. Just notice what you notice. Take your time. And say when. Okay, what are you getting?
Before I went into his body, I was very much feeling that of a protector for him.
Mm-hmm.
When I went into his body, he wanted a way out.
He wanted a way out.
Yeah, it wasn't so much about the relationship with me.
Okay. Okay.
Or my mother.
Okay. I'm going to try something. I'm going, I've got so many tools in my toolkit and I find it very difficult to resist using some. Can I try something now?
Sure.
From within the body and being of your dad. What's his name, by the way?
Jack.
Jack. From within Jack, I almost want to ask Jack, here you are in your daughter's dream space all these years later. You're looking for the book, The Great Escape. And Alex is saying, you can't be here. It's not safe. I'm afraid for you. Jack, right now, noticing what you're feeling.
Sorry. His words just came to me.
What was that? What were the words?
I just want to get the hell out of here.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to shift gear. Okay, Jack, you want to get the hell out of here? Do you want to get the hell out of this house? If we go back in time, where do you go back to as far as you can? Drop back in time in your own story. Where does it take you back to? Well, the first place you land.
I think the prison camp.
Okay, let's go to the prison camp. You ready?
Okay.
Let's allow Alex's nervous system to imagine your experience 18 months in that prison camp. You ready to go? Alex is going to do this weird thing called EMDR, and bilateral stimulation hasn't been invented yet. But she's going to do some tapping on your experience of being in that prison camp. And she's going to allow whatever comes into her imagination with your help. Should we go for it? Okay, Jack, let's do this. And Alex is going to tap. Right, prison camp, 18 months. And trust whatever comes up, whether you know it's real or not.
Yeah, got it.
You got it? Okay, what are you getting?
My father in the lower bunk
Yeah.
with someone up top. And another man has gotten a letter from my mother. Oh, and I think he's reading it out, and my father's horrified, angry.
Okay. So I just want to be clear, the man in the top bunk has got a letter from his wife.
Well, they weren't married then.
Oh, but his girlfriend, as it were,
Actually, they did get engaged while he was
okay,
in the prison
okay.
camp.
Well, let's just tap on that. Just tap on that. Let's let it unfold, Alex. Well done. Say when. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, what are you getting?
Uh, a silent horror from him inside.
Do you know what that's about? Can Jack tell you? Can Jack tell us what it's about? What's the horror about?
Being betrayed, abandoned.
Oh wow. Okay. So he knows the content. You know the content of that letter?
So I've been told by him.
Right. Do you know, I just to help me, do you know what Jack is hearing? What's the story of betrayal, abandonment that he's hearing from the top bunk? What's happened?
Well, it's just that my mother has written to another man. I think they were from the same area of
Oh, I
town.
see. This is a letter from his fiance to the man in the top bunk.
Right.
Got it.
I don't know if they're engaged at that point, but
Got
it's
it.
just yeah.
Okay, Jack, I just want to ask you, we've got another just under 10 minutes. So we're pretty deep into this story. And Jack, thank you. And thank you, Alex, as well, for sort of being Jack's interpreter. Jack, I want to ask you that betrayal, that sense of abandonment. If we go way back to when you were a little kid, is that a familiar story to you? The feeling of being betrayed, abandoned?
I would think probably abandoned because his
Mm-hmm.
mother had to periodically go into the hospital. You know, in those days, if a woman was
Okay.
depressed,
Would you just tap on that? We're tapping on this on behalf of Jack, on his childhood experience of the feminine, of the mother, of the female. So your grandmother, Jack's mother, is in and out of hospital with depression.
well, it was never, I don't know why she was in there, but I
But
presume,
that's a big story. That's big.
yeah.
Ooh, ouch. I'm just, your Jack's story, that's quite a story. Yeah, you're sort of smiling grimly there, Alex. Notice what you're getting. You're doing a piece of intergenerational healing here, aren't you?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Okay, what are you getting?
I think the worst for him was when he came back from the war.
Hmm.
And it was either those that had been at war and those that had not. There was a
Mm,
great divide
mm.
within men and, well, everyone,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
especially men.
yeah,
So again, he was
yeah.
abandoned.
So as he comes back from war, sort of moral injury, as it were, sort of he feels an outsider when he
Yes.
comes back, having been away.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so can we come back to target, as we say in EMDR? Can we come back to Jack in the dream? Thank you, Jack. Thank you for opening those windows. Alex, as you connect back with that moment, your dad, Jack, looking in your dream in the mist in these two rooms for the great escape, what do you get? What do you notice?
That he's very, he doesn't know where he is.
Just tap on that. Yeah. Could we say as you tap, he hasn't known where he has been? Remember that this is your dad as he lives on in you. And he's also open to, it doesn't have to stay the same way. Maybe something can change. You'll know when to pause. Take your time. Okay. What are you getting?
I wish for him that he feels he was known and respected for being a war hero, because he never got that ever.
In this space, is there anything we can do that you can do in our shared imagination on behalf of Jack?
Send that out to him.
To honor his experience. I wonder what would happen if, a crazy idea, if we were to bring your mother, his wife, in so that she could see him now and perhaps understand him better. Would that be an idea or not? No, right.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
But just notice that. Actually, just notice that too, because little Alex is, Alex is saying, "Don't come, Mum mustn't know." The invitation to you, Alex, as you tap on the next bit, is to just clock that dynamic between you, your dad, and your mum through your childhood. Got it? Yeah. How was that?
That it is what it was.
It is what it was, yeah. Is there anything you in the dream would like to say to Jack, to your dad, to let him know? From all these years later.
That I understand so much more now.
Do you want just tap on that? Can you just let the dad of your dream know that you now understand so much more, and notice how that feels? Notice how he responds. Notice what happens to the mist. Mm-hmm. How's that?
There's a warmth inside, feeling of love, of him saying or feeling that he's being seen, recognized.
Yeah.
And it was.
Just notice how that feels to you, Alex, to say that, to acknowledge that. This dad of yours. And as you tap, just remember being 4 and 5 in bed with him and him telling you stories. And your transition to womanhood, and your sister coming into the bedroom, and your dad on his journey. One of my favorite EMDR interweaves. Just notice how it all joins up. How's that?
I wish I wasn't the youngest.
I don't think that was your choice. It's what you had to deal with.
Yeah.
Can I read the dream back to you? We'll finish in a moment. Where you've done a beautiful piece of work, and thank you so much for being willing to do this and really go there. Can I read the dream back to you? I'd just be interested to see how it feels. You can either close your eyes or leave your eyes open. Maybe eyes open, actually. Whichever you feel is best. And I'll read it quite robustly now as a kind of narrative. Yeah. So the dream begins in a kind of mist, but it's in a house. It's got at least 2 rooms. Feel free to pause me when you think, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I get that now. It's got at least 2 rooms. My father comes in and
I'll stop. It
Yep.
wasn't a mist, it was a fog.
A fog. Oh, you said mist. Okay, a fog. That's even thicker
Sorry.
than a fog. Right. I am curious about the fog, whether that's still there. Just notice. So, I'll start again. Okay, I'll get it right here. And correct me if that's what this is about. The dream begins in a kind, and it is 8 years ago. This dream has stayed with you for a long time. It begins in a kind of fog, but yet it's in the house. And the house has got at least 2 rooms. My father comes in, I'm sort of in the doorway, and I say to him, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be dead. And you can't let Mum know. Jack says, I'm coming back to get the book that means so much. I mean, this book means so much to him, The Great Escape. And he's searching for the book in the main room. I come into the room, and the fog, which was described as a mist, really takes away from what else is in the room. It's daytime. There aren't any lights on, and I have a feeling he cannot be seen. It's dangerous. I don't know how Mum will react. In the dream, he's staggering, unbalanced. His balance is poor. Now, how's the dream? How's that space, Alex, as we get to the end of this piece of work? Has it changed a bit? Say again?
That's how it was.
That's how it was. Yeah. How is it now?
Well, he still can't be seen. It's dangerous.
Is it still, he still can't be seen. It certainly was dangerous, but is it dangerous now in 2025 in your internal world? Do you see him? Do all of us here see Jack? I almost want to invite him to look beyond the doorway, and there are 37 people here.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel quite moved to say this. Whew. Jack, we see you. Jack, we see you. Do you want to tap on that? Somehow. Yeah, welcome, Jack.
I think that changes the dream a little bit, and it's sort of helping him leave the 2 rooms. It's time to go.
Time to go. Notice where he goes, and notice how you feel about his journey to wherever he moves on to.
He rises into the mist. Now it's mist.
Oh, now it's a mist again. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I don't know if you're a religious, if that means things to you, but whatever meaning you want to make of this, Alex, at this point, we're finishing literally in about half a minute. Whatever meaning you want to make of this, allow yourself to make that meaning. Yeah.
He can let go.
And who else can let go?
I'm working on it.
Well, you never know. He can let go. Should we pause it there?
Okay.
He can let go, and maybe I, Alex McLaughlin, with time, might be able to begin to possibly think about letting go of some things. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
You will be having, this will be relevant to your life now. Now, I don't know your life now, Alex, but you will know how this resonates. The dream is about now. That's why you've brought it. That's why you had it. That's why you've brought it. It's about the future. It's about how you step into the next bit. Big one.
Mm.
So you might want to sort of reflect on that. And listen, I don't know if you want to meet again, but I'd like to.
Yes.
Drop me a line after this and let's fix a time. Maybe in a week, too, well, track your dreams. Let's I've taken lots of notes. We've got the recording too. Perhaps have a look at the recording before we meet next time. And come back with questions about the EMDR side of it, about, why the hell did you do that? Or, wow, that I hadn't, this is now slotted into place or whatever. That'd be quite fun.
I think it was really fluid.
Maybe what we could do, here's a really crazy idea. How about doing a follow-up where we invite those who might be able to join us and we do it in a small group again? Or just a one-on-one. It's just a thought.
I don't quite understand. Members of my
We could do
family
it.
or
We could do it.
members of
No.
this community?
Here, colleagues here. Not your family. I mean, I may be mad, but I'm not that mad. But maybe you and I meet, but we would be very interesting to do a follow-up. Perhaps because there's quite a powerful piece of work, and lots of our colleagues will have really resonated with that. As we were about to hear after a short break. And there'll be lots of questions and observations, and this is going to inform the next hour really richly. And there may be colleagues who might like to come back and say, it's like a good boxed set. What happened next with Alex? Because I want to know what happens next. I would like to know how it resonates into your life, into your real life, which is what therapy is about. Yeah. So, high five.
High five.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely breathtaking. I mean, I enjoyed that. I don't know about you. I hope, looks like you did a bit. Should we take a break?
Yes.
Another sort of 7-minute, and then we'll come back. And then I would suggest there'll be lots of questions and things in the chat, and we can open it out into plenary again. And I'll explain why I did what I did. You can say, well, it was a bit weird, but didn't work or did work. What it was like for you. We'll take stock. But both as you as the client, but as EMDR therapist as well. Is that good?
Yes.
Great. Jenny, I don't know if Jenny's back. I go back furthest with anybody here. I hope Jenny doesn't mind me saying so. Jenny and I trained in transpersonal couples counseling in 2010, which was a very long time ago. Or was it 2011? No, 2010, I think. She's not back yet. Anyway, okay. Where are you, Alex? Let's just, oh, you're up there. We're both still pinned. So if you all go to, well, you can have us both pinned, but might be better to go to view at the top right-hand corner and put us into gallery view. And then you get, and then open perhaps the chat, and you can see the chats that are coming in, so that then you can see who's asking the question. So having taken a bit of a stock, Alex, can I start? We've got 50 minutes till the top, well, 45 minutes, because there'll be a bit of sort of housekeeping at the end. Alex, having taken a short break, what struck you both as client and as EMDR therapist?
Well, first I'll go to body sensation because I was just freezing. Yeah. And then
interesting.
emotion.
So the body keeps the score. Interesting. Really powerful activation then. Yeah. 8 years old, the dream. And my goodness, really, how was it to tell the dream, business-like detail for me to listen and just literally read it back?
I wish I could have described it better.
Don't worry. I could bridge you from that, by the way, into other childhood stories. It was perfect. I mean, just look around. Does anybody think in this group that Alex could have done that dream better for us? Not seeing too many hands go up, Alex. You did it brilliantly. No, I mean, it was clients, they say, oh, I don't remember, it's not enough, or I've only got a fragment or something. Take them into the dream, trust the dream. The dream is like a sort of separate third party in the therapy. You're working with the dream through the client. The client is your interface to the dream. The dream has its own story, its own energy. It is speaking in the nervous system. I come back to this idea. So you, Alex McLaughlin, will have all of your ideas about you're not good enough or there isn't enough details. But the dream doesn't worry about that. That's just your stuff. The dream has got the story. I mean, there was massive stuff there. We could have gone so many different directions. I could have done transfer of perspective into the book. I could have asked the book, what's the story? I could have done a transfer of, you have the book. You actually literally have the book there.
Yeah,
for those who don't know,
he treasured it.
Is that his copy?
Yes.
Wow. That feels almost sacred. For those of you who don't know The Great Escape, it's about British prisoners of war in Stalag Luft 5. You probably know, Justin. Can't remember which one it is. in one of the main German prisoner of war camps. They were relatively well treated by the standards of the time. And they had I think that was the wooden horse. Was it the wooden horse? Where they dug a tunnel out and escaped. Lots of them were killed in getting away. But the metaphor of your dad's childhood story of abandonment and then his wartime story. So you've got the root formative experiences and you've got his wartime trauma. And this, it's like the moral injury of Vietnam vets coming back and the country doesn't honor them. Well, Second World War was very different, but your dad had such an intense experience.
And also with PTSD, they might say
PTSD.
shell shock, but he wasn't allowed to talk of it.
So there were so many layers there. And there's also a whole set of layers of relationship between the masculine and the feminine, the dynamics of men and women in your family system. I mean, 3 daughters, for God's sake, and your mother with her stuff. And I was so interested that he wasn't safe at some level. You felt he wasn't safe to be seen by your mother. Big childhood story going on there, which is her stuff. Wasn't safe to see the masculine. That will have been her childhood experience of the masculine. Can you all hear how many layers there are that are wanting to be explored? Now, I'm transpersonally trained. I'm autistic. I see things. I work in images and pictures. I was absolutely in that room with you, Alex. You and I were doing this thing together, adult addicts. And this was not a technique I was using. We were really doing this thing together. At least that was my experience. And I hope you noticed how I used my voice, how I used my relationship. And I played at times. This is how I work, for better or worse. When you said The Greatest Escape, I said, oh, I know that book. Because I do. I read it in childhood as well. I don't know if that was helpful at that moment, but that was what I call what Mark Dworkin would call a relational interweave. It keeps us in the here and now, in the dance between you and me.
And it tells me a lot. Like it's almost like a metaphor in that you've read it, you've experienced.
We can go there. It's safe to go there. Because there's so much about your dad. It's not safe. You're not feeling safe. You as the 11-year-old in your dad's bed, you're a woman, and your sister, wait a minute, your dad, he's longing for the soft feminine and he's rubbing your back. And this isn't sexual abuse, but it's a sexualization of that forbidden zone. So there's something about your dad his story compromised his capacity to be the safe, positively patriarchal male in the family system. Your mum couldn't be the solid, rock solid, no nonsense woman, feminine and matriarch. My suspicion is that your sisters stepped into some of those places.
My
Is
oldest
that right?
might have. My oldest might have.
Yeah.
The middle one.
So for better or worse, you saw me working how I work. Now, you're not going to want to or be able to work with those levels of, if you like, sophistication or madness or curiosity or courage. I go crazy places with my client. But what I wanted to show, that's how I work. I work like that. And I hope we showed you together what can be done with dreams. And it is pretty bloody close to magic. It's retelling the past. And wasn't that lovely with Jack? What a tender I-thou moment. And I loved Timmy in the chat, Alex, if you saw that, said, thanks, Alex and Jack. The dad we were working with is the dad you've carried with his stories and his unfinished business and your experience of the masculine and just you as a woman and all kinds of stuff. Baby boomer, everything. So much in that dream. Wow. There's a whole novel. There's a whole book in one dream. It's not always like that. So, right, wrote him.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of questions, and I think that I'm sure that there are more people with more questions. And what I would suggest is that people just unmute themselves or maybe virtually raise your hand
just a quick thought. Maybe we could have another dream or a client dream. And I have no idea what to do with this dream. And I'll risk a kind of, well, this is probably what it might be about.
We did actually have a client dream. Let me see if,
Oh, there's one from Judy. Recurring nightmares, pounding a never-ending amount of nails. And there's another one, searching dreams. Where did I leave my car? Judy, where are you? Can you raise a hand or say something? Oh, there you are, top of the screen. Yeah. So the pounding a never-ending amount of nails, is that one of yours or one of your client dreams?
No, it's a client that I have. And,
okay.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's recurring. Okay. And another recurring one is he's always searching for his car or.
So this is the same client. Okay, so can I ask you, Judy? Rotem has very efficiently pinned you to the top left of the screen if you're in if you're in gallery mode, which is a good place to be. In the context of what we've been exploring today, Judy, what do you think that, A, what do you think how might you work with it? B, what do you think it might be about? Let's leap to a conclusion, risk a sweeping generalization.
I haven't done any EMDR with them. In fact, I wanted to take this class before I ventured into that. Something unfinished, maybe something unfinished.
Yeah, go deeper. One of the things that I encourage everybody in my workshops to bear in mind is when we're looking for stories, experiences to process with EMDR, we're looking for literal stories. So we'll come to a conclusion, what it means is X, Y, Z. But what are the literal stories, the formative experiences that might be being re-experienced in metaphorical terms? So what might the pounding a never-ending amount of nails be about? You know your client in his what it might be might it be a metaphor for in his literal experience?
He's a first responder, policeman, and then fireman, and he's retired.
Okay.
I see some trauma in this.
Okay, I want to go deeper. Judy, I want to go deeper. He won't be having this dream just about being, you can absolutely explore his experience of being a first responder. But if we take it, I'm attachment informed. I'm always curious about the attachment story. I would be almost certain, in fact, I'd be 100% certain, that this is a dream about his childhood primarily.
Okay.
So what might it be about in your client's childhood as a metaphor for his experience of being that kid in that family system? Never-ending pounding nails.
Representative of being pushed too hard.
Being sort of metaphorically beaten himself, pushed too hard,
I know
hammered into something.
Yeah, his family seems pretty calm from what we've discussed.
Okay.
I wonder if it's imposing values and that you've got to do this, and you've got to do this, and to be successful you have to do this.
So he was nailed down.
Yeah,
there was something about him being nailed down in the family system, defined, not for him but for what was needed of him.
Yeah, that's
there you
go. Yeah.
So
that's a good
and searching for, you wouldn't say this to him before doing the dream.
No.
You get him to, stick to my way of working, get him to tell you the dream, but the lights are going on for you. You think, hello, I've got a clue because that will inform your interweaves. You don't tell him, you don't talk about it, analyze it.
Right.
When you've done a whole load of dreams, then you can actually start analyzing straight away.
Yeah.
When you do it together. But here, what about where did I leave my car? What do you think that might be about?
Or searching for anything. And he's
now, what's he searching for? What does I haven't mentioned the car. I need to add it to my presentation. The car, I'll say this up front actually, because I should include this in my slides. A house is a kind of container of the home of the self, the soul, with all of its rooms and complexities. A car is my journey through life. It's very often the actual family system moving forward. I dreamt when Jutta and I were divorcing or heading for divorce, where most of you know we're very, very happily back together again. Although Jutta reminds me not to speak for her always, but we're surviving second time round after 50 years, very well after 12 years. When we were going through our real difficulty, I constantly dreamt in the 1990s about driving our Mitsubishi space wagon, in which we used to drive our 3 small children backwards and forwards to the German family and go skiing and go holidaying on the Adriatic and things. So the car was an extension of me on the move, moving through life, but also constrained and having to control the thing. So if he's looking for his car, might that be a metaphor? I mean, I'll tell you if you don't tell me, but Judy, you get there first. What do you think it's?
Well, he's searching. He's looking for something.
And what's he looking for? Give it a go. I'll open it up.
Where to go next?
Okay, more than that.
Okay.
What's the key thing about a car? I'm searching for my car. When he's in the car, what does he do?
Well, he's driving it. Right?
Okay, so who drives the car?
He does.
Okay, so who has control of the journey?
He does.
Did he have control of his journey in childhood?
Oh, it seems like he did.
What about the nails
Yeah,
being hammered into place?
right.
Got it? Very often, this is to everybody who in his path, his journey now in the chat, Carol, it's more than that. It's his agency in his own life. It's his capacity to determine, to take hold of the steering wheel of his own life. I would strongly suspect that the hammering of the nails, this relentless, continuous hammering of the nails, never-ending amount of nails, the job is never done. And I'm pretty certain that in his childhood, there was an expectation that it was never quite good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it? So there's massive metaphor in all of these things. The way to work with this, I would suggest, is to get him to read the story back to you. To tell you the story, read it back to him, do it exactly as according to my extended interweave. See what comes up. But then you saw Alex and I. With Alex, I moved into being quite proactive, actually quite quickly, after about 2 sets. I mean, shockingly quickly, actually. I didn't just wait. This is one of the things that I really take issue with standard EMDR, and with many of the main trainers, including, my very dear friend, Jamie Marriage, who is, wonderful, wonderful writer and trainer and all the rest of it, a wonderful human being in many ways. But she is also, even in the way she works, you find a target and you do the bilateral stimulation. Fundamentally, you stay out of the way. Andrew Dobo, stay out of the way. Thomas Zimmerman, stay out of the way. And I've actually wrote to him, I'll invite you to reflect on this because you know these guys really well. I'm much more proactive, but I'm co-creatively proactive with the client.
I think so, Mark. Tom Zimmerman actually is not so much about staying out of the way because he talks about working with complex trauma and about when it's complex, you cannot stay out of the way. The way it's still being taught in basic training. So when you talk about, Andy Dobo and Jamie, they're basic trainers, and that's, they have to teach in a certain way. The way they do EMDR with their clients, I'm sure it's not, staying out of the way. But Tom, for those of you who don't know, but we're going to have Tom for a free webinar next Tuesday. So you're all welcome to join. He has very, very great insights. You talked earlier about how EMDR works, the mechanisms, and Tom's session at EMDRIA just a few weeks ago was phenomenal. He talks about predictive processing, that was not our intention to talk about it next Tuesday, but I will have him talk a little bit about it. It's really interesting.
I'll try and be there as well. And I don't know Tom's work as well as I know the others, but but this dance between, you know, the EMDR, good EMDR, is a dance between staying out of the way for as long as is necessary and where necessary, but being prepared to be proactive where that is necessary.
Yeah.
And this is something you learn over many years to get that balance right.
Right.
Appropriate for each client. Sometimes there were some quite long sets, Alex, weren't there? There were some where I really just let it run. And it was interesting. Alex wanted to have quite short sets to start with, but wasn't it interesting, Alex, as we unfolded? Where are you? You've been unpinned now. I've lost you. There you are. That as we went on, actually, the sets were much longer and you stayed with it. I gave you agency. I let you, you know, like the other client, I let you drive your own car. And I do this a lot. I say, in your own time, say when. You'll know when to take a pause. That's some of the language I use. And sometimes a client needs to be with the experience for quite, you know, for a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I don't let it run 5 minutes. And I use the language of, should we just take a pause? And I'll do this whether they're butterfly tapping or I'm switching the tappers on and the sound's on at my end or not. But this dance in and out, length of sets, Alex, would you agree that, I mean, I'm trying to work in a really flowing dance-like way. There's very clear steps, but it's elegant and graceful. But is that fair to, was that your experience?
I wasn't too aware that I got longer sets as it went on.
Good.
I liked when you gave me sort of be in the driver's seat. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, I did appreciate that.
Of course, what we were doing there moment by moment was building therapeutic safety. We were building an alchemical container, if you like, where the lead can be turned into gold, to stay with the metaphor of alchemy. But the dance there, the agency, the backwards and forwards with each intervention. And also notice I use my voice a lot, softening. You know, it is not just a protocol. It's so much more. EMDR is spectacularly relational. It's it is the most relational therapy I know, because when you're tapping and you're using your voice to take somebody into the space and then welcome them back out as you do the dual attention, it's incredibly relational. I literally know no other therapy that is as relational as EMDR. And I think you saw it happening just in the space of, 40 minutes? Wasn't a lot. So, Judy, was that helpful?
Thank you. Yeah, very helpful.
Great. Terrific. Okay. Who's next?
Laura, do you want to ask your question about where was mom when she was in bed with dad?
Yeah. Hello, Mark.
Hi there, Laura.
Hi. I just wondered if it was a choice point, because I know a lot of the time you say it's about the maternal attachment, but we went with dad. And I guess I know it can go, you know.
We could have gone there.
I know they could have gone different ways. And it was quite interesting to see how it went that way, because you were talking about the male energy.
Why do you think I stayed with it and I didn't go there? I know why I didn't go there, because I was aware of that. In the context of the time we had and the arc and the structure, why do you think I didn't go there?
Because you were keeping it focused and tight.
And what was I keeping focused on?
The relationship between her and dad, because that's what was showing up in the dream. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we did have mum, you know, the mum's energy is actually a central part, is a kind of holding space for the entire dream. I think actually, Alex, can I put it to you? Will you stop moving around my screen? Alex, can you please stay where you were when I last saw you?
Okay, I'll try.
Oh, there you are now. I mean, what is Zoom like? You know, you were there and now. Would it be fair to say, Alex, that although we didn't explicitly work with mum, her energy informed the entire dream. The feminine
Oh,
energy,
yes.
the mother's dream, the mother energy, not just your mother's energy, but your dad's mother's energy. If you think about it, your dad, going back to the abandonment and your grandmother, where have you gone?
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. I found you at the top
I
of the
think when
screen.
I speak, you can see me.
No, it's when you speak, but it's when Rotem very
Someone
sensibly
leaves.
put you to the top of the screen. He spotlit you, which is all good. He did the right thing, and I forgot to look at the top of the screen. When in doubt, go to the top of the screen. So the dynamic of your father's experience of the female, of the feminine, the safety, is he safe with a female? And the story of the reading of the letter in the camp, wow, the betrayal by the feminine. So I think, Laura, my sense is that if we'd gone explicitly to Alex's mum, it would have taken us off track in the time we had. But actually we had, and I will look at mum, but we both had a sense of mum's energetic. Maybe mum is the fog. Maybe we could have done a transfer of perspective into the mist. Interesting. It starts out as a mist and turns into a fog. Isn't that interesting? Because you said mist both times, first time round. Second time round, it was a fog. I wonder if we did a transfer of perspective up and over into the body and being of the mist or the fog. There's a radical thought. I wonder if that's the dysfunctional, clouding feminine energy, your mother's stuff. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I think it was my father's stuff.
But your father's stuff from childhood. It's his experience of the feminine. It's your father's experience of the feminine. It's not your mother as such. It's what the feminine archetype represents in his life.
What's a possibility?
In his developmental journey. That feels to me, that could work. We would explore it. You might say, no, absolutely not. And actually, can I just try something?
Sure.
So can I just try something? Alex, can we just try a transfer of perspective into the mist, stroke fog? Because when we do the transfer of perspective, we separate out from the conscious frontal cortex perspective. That's why I love working with dreams, because it's not left brain analysis. It's not thinking about it. There's a wisdom in there that will out. Okay, Alex, if you're okay, just close your eyes for a moment. Let's take you back into the dream. The 2 rooms, the house, your dad. Dad, it's not safe to be here. There's mist, which on re-examining, going back into it, feels more like a fog. Noticing the fog, imagine your conscious awareness, your perspective, your point of view, rising up out of you, the dreamer, the observer. And you're above these rooms, looking down at Jack, your dad, yourself as dreamer in the door there, the 2 rooms, and the mist, the fog. Imagine your conscious awareness dropping gently down into the body and being of the, shall I say mist or shall I say fog?
Fog.
Fog. Into the body and being of the fog in the room. As you connect with the inward experience, memories, feelings, thoughts, physical sensations, perspective of the fog, I'm going to ask you, fog, what are you about? What's your story? What's your purpose in this room? What are you bringing? What do you want to be known in Alex's dream? What do you represent?
I think it represents my father's mind.
Okay.
I know in the house, I have a sense my mother is there. she's in another part of the house, but I can't see that part, but I can feel her presence.
Okay. So what I would do, we're not going to do it now because we haven't got time. I would tap on that because the wisdom of this dynamic would emerge organically, right brain limbic system observed by the left brain. So I suggest, Alex, we leave it there and perhaps revisit next time. So we're in phase 7, closure, and then next time reevaluation. And we come back to the dream, and you may well have other dreams in the meantime, because dreams love being worked with. They say, "Oh my goodness, Alex, great. We've waited 8 years for this moment. We're going to give it to you now between the eyes over the next few days until we meet again." I can promise you that. Absolutely promise.
Wonderful.
Does that help? Does that help everybody? Julie, you're smiling broadly, which is a nice sign. Great big grin there. I like that. Next question. Yeah. Is there anybody who's got a question in the list who hasn't? Patty's asked a question. Can I do that? Laura, sorry, just back to you, Laura. Does that help answer your curiosity? It's a good question. Where have you gone?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, absolutely. I got the sense that Mum was there and she wasn't to know anything. That energy was not knowing anything. So staying with Dad made total sense. It's sort of there was a kind of protection around the both of them, and like Mum is over there. Her presence,
but she's present. Her energy is informing the dream, so that we are working with Mum.
Yes.
But Laura used a really important word, 2 words there, choice point. This is a piece that I really, really emphasize in all of my EMDR workshops. Is EMDR, any good EMDR session is full of choice points, multiple massive dimensions. I mean, hundreds of choice points every session. So I know a very senior EMDR trainer, and some of you heard me tell this story. A colleague of mine was having EMDR with them. I won't say whether it's male or female, and a really senior person. And this colleague, it was good therapy. She opened her eyes at one point, and this person was reading their messages on their mobile phone. Boy, were they staying out of the way. You can't stay out of the way in EMDR. Even when you're staying out of the way, you are so present to the client. You're working with the client. You're co-creating a space where drama is happening, where magic is happening. And as you listen, as you empathize, as you resonate, as your mirror neurons fire, you are, even if you don't say a thing, just the way you look, the tone of voice, you're working with the client. So your awarenesses around choice points and dynamics and so on will inform the best possible in the moment interweave presence. Remember, your very presence is an interweave. I can't bear the term cognitive interweave. So it's another term. I really can't bear the term cognitive interweave. Shapiro, brilliant in her way, but let's take her off the pedestal. Let's start examining the protocol we all use. How should it be improved? Let's have a proper council of scholars where we look at the wording of the standard of the protocol, of the core EMDR protocol. These are, my dear friends, interweaves. Your very presence with a client is an interweave. It's not a cognitive interweave, for Christ's sake. There is, or for whoever's sake, there are cognitive interweaves, but there are all kinds of other interweaves. They're just being interweaves, relational interweaves, video interweaves, non-dual interweave, you name it. Anyway, I can go off on one there. Samantha,
has a question.
Has a question, yes.
Hi, Mark.
Hi there.
Yeah, I was just wondering about, sorry, let me just get rid of that. Resourcing before a client, and how well you need to know your client before you do this kind of work with them, and how much you would resource them, I guess for fear of reactivating trauma, them feeling overwhelmed and not feeling strong enough to cope with what comes up.
Shall I? Well, first of all, those of you who know my work well will know that I resource with a special place, although I very rarely use the special place, but I do it with every client. It's a useful tool at in phase 2. 3 nurturing figures, 3 protective figures, and a wise figure in my core framework. I do that with every single client. And I usually get to work, processing by the end of the 2nd session, certainly by the 3rd session. The metaphor, Sam or Samantha? Sam, the metaphor, Sam, is that almost always you've got a child ego state. You've got an adult presenting with childhood formative experiences that were never resolved, ruptures that weren't repaired. And if we take the metaphor, with our first responder, Judy's question, the first responder, we've got a child ego state left behind in a lonely or burning building. What would you do if you're a social worker and you've got a child alone in a building, or there's bad things happening, or it's on fire, whatever? You get sufficient resourcing and you go in and you find that child.
Yeah.
That's my metaphor of the DeLorean. We get in with the adult client in front of us. We explain what we're going to do. We need to go in and find the bits of you that got left behind. And you know what? I really take issue. You might have heard me say this before today. I really take issue with an understanding of EMDR that says you can't start processing until you've done endless RDI, endless resourcing, endless stabilization. It's so dysfunctional, because with every single client who comes, every client I've ever worked with has got a story from the past which is resonating, burning, hurting, informing, really painful. You want to get in and get to work, but do it in this relational, enthusiastically, I'm ridiculously enthusiastic. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Some clients run a mile, very rarely. Some supervisees, some organizations run a mile when I sort of start jumping up and down and getting enthusiastic. But I'd invite you to find your own enthusiastic groove. Your clients are paying you good money to really meet them, to take risks, to be courageous, not to be frightened of your own courage. Germans have a wonderful phrase, Angst vor der eigenen Courage, to be afraid of one's own courage. Such a good phrase. And there's far too much of it out there in the EMDR world. So I don't know if that answers your question, Sam.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Risk, be dangerous, but, do it in partnership with your client. Tell them, I often say to a client, can we try something? You saw me do it You saw me do it today with Alex. Should we just try something?
Mark,
okay.
But Julie asks, how do you define the relational interweave?
Wow, great question. I've got that book, Is a Relational Interweave. Oh, I don't know about you, but that feels really quite emotional. Is a relational interweave. I did a number of relational interweaves. If you look at the video, you can see me, being present. And with Jack, how many of you felt an emotion? I can feel it now. When I said to Jack, we see you. And there's lots of us here. Yeah. Quite a lot of you. I really, Alex, that was not a technical interweave. I felt real emotion. The tenderness of your dad with his story, never really witnessed. And he comes back. Where are you now? Oh, for God's sake, where are you, Alex? Alex, where have you gone? Oh, there you are. Will you stop moving around my screen? There's a metaphor there too, probably. Trying to pin you down, trying to nail you down. Oh, by the way, coming back to Judy's story, that could be about trying to nail myself in a particular place when there's no safe place. I'm trying to hammer myself into one place. I don't know. It could be I'm trying to keep Alex in the same place, trying to nail her down. There's a metaphor in the nail. I would absolutely do a transfer of perspective into the nail. Say, what are you about? What's going on here? But nailing Alex down in that moment, Alex, when I was talking to the dad who lives on in you and your experience of this complex, profound, you've moved again. Oh, there you go. That complex, profound, wounded, good man, lonely in lots of ways, carrying so many stories and unseen, all his life at some level, he was never really seen, including by your mum, because it wasn't safe for him to be seen by your mum. So I would do some work bringing mum in and reimagining that scene, working out why it was dangerous for her to see your dad for who he really was, to let him be himself. I've just done a major piece of work, by the way. Probably shouldn't say this. Probably get. I won't tell you to that. I told you. We met 50. I'm going to close the door so you can't hear me saying that. If you guys promise not to tell you to that, I told you all. 50. We met in Moscow in 1974. We've had a big journey. Big journey. We were divorced for 13 years, and the journey continues. We spent a whole day on Saturday, this last Saturday, with a wonderful therapist who works with Terry Real, relational life therapy, if you know that. Yep. And we had a whole day. And for me, it was all about feeling safe. It's safe to be seen as me. And for Jutta too, it turned out to be, is it really safe to step in with vulnerability and safety? It's all about feeling safe in the presence of the partner and the masculine and the feminine. And by the way, the masculine and the feminine work in same-sex relationships too. These are big dynamics, not just about, the male sex and the female sex. And it was transformational. It was absolutely transformational. And Alex, your dad and your mum never had that opportunity to feel truly safe with each other. So your dad wants out of here. Tragedy, really, in a sense, to escape from the sort of trappedness that he had that was layered on in childhood and then being a prisoner of war, the metaphor of him not feeling safe to be present. Big one. So, oh God, it's so rich. I don't know, Julie, whether that answers I've just done a relational interweave with all of you. I will tell my clients on occasion, I'll tell you, some of you know the story about my mum, who died with Alzheimer's after 10 years nearly of diagnosis. Lived around the corner and for 53 years in the house that I spent my later teenage years she moved to. And as she was dementing, the story I tell, and I tell most of my clients this story, about how parents will project themselves into their children and never truly allow the children to separate out. How many of you, friends here today, had parents, particularly mothers, who never really let you go? Good few hands going up. A story I tell to my clients when they're trying to disentangle from the mother who's held on to them, needed them to regulate their feelings, the child in service to the mother's well-being. It's just one of the main things we work with. And this isn't to blame mothers, every mother does the best she can. When I used to go around to my mother's house when she had full-time care, two wonderful Zimbabwean ladies in their 60s. They were so good. 24/7 care, they did everything. Wiped her bottom, cooked for her, cleaned, shopped, you name it, gave her company, took her out for walks. It was amazing work. They were just awesome. And I used to go around most mornings and I'd walk in the front door and, "Hi, Mum," I'd say. And one morning I walked in to the front door, literally 200 yards away here in Sheringham on the North Norfolk coast, on the North Sea coast. Opened the door, clinker, 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 typical sort of sound I remember so well from childhood. "Hi, Mum." And Gertrude from Zimbabwe said, "Audrey, it's Mark." Oh, who's that? Oh, Potter. And my mum, who was in the middle of personal care, she had a nightie on. I think she pottered out onto the landing in this small house that she lived in and looked down over the landing. And I was at the bottom of the stairs, looking up at her, smiling at her. I loved my mum. She was a bloody nightmare in many ways, but, I loved her. How many of you know this story apart from Rotim? Rota, you put your hand up, yeah. I tell it quite often. I tell my clients this. Now, this is a relational interweave, but it's also a psychoeducational interweave. Because what she said is, "Oh, it's me." Wow. Vita, I saw your jaw hit the floor. Never was a truer word spoken. Have you got a mother who looks at you and sees herself? Your face was a picture.
Just an extension.
Extension of mother. And the thing is, Alzheimer had stripped away all of the sort of, the getting it right and the external stuff. The frontal cortex had all gone. All the filters are gone. And it was truth, blinding truth. I smiled because I knew what it was all about. Oh, so I was right. All my life, I knew it was all about you. So I tell my clients that story. And I think they find it quite useful. It's a psychoeducational interweave. It's very definitely a relational interweave. I bring myself into the story appropriately, I hope. I'm sure I do it inappropriately, by the way. I get a lot of feedback. Mark, why did you do that? Because I'm me, for better or worse. Rotem, we got 5 minutes. We're really up against it now.
Yeah, I was wondering about, you kind of proposed to do a follow-up, and I know usually you do the follow-up one-on-one, but if yeah.
What do you think, Alex? Would you be game for just, an hour and 15 minutes or something, or maybe 90 minutes? So we got a bit of time, or maybe just an hour, actually. Because my normal offer is to do a follow-up session to go deeper again. What we could do is, we could convene for 3/4 of an hour just to take stock. People can stay on if they want to, and you can have 90 minutes, as it were.
Okay.
You can spend 90 minutes together. So to make sure that we have the space to do the work, in gratitude for you being with us today, but space also for colleagues to join us and ask questions, and perhaps bring some questions from your own work. So a little bit of supervisory space as well.
Yes, thank you, Mark. And I guess that's the most important point. I want to encourage everyone to actually try and implement, what you learned today, and do the work with your clients. And if you're not doing it, you're not going to do it in the next few days or the next few weeks, you're most likely not going to do it. So
do it. Get out there, even if, however uncertain you are about this, with an appropriate client. Don't do it in the first session with a client, but with the clients well, where you're really wanting to go deeper in EMDR. Say, do you know what? I've just done this webinar thing, and I'd like to try something. Do you want to give it a go? That's a relational interweave.
Okay.
So we'll fix the time.
Yeah.
Rotem, can I just say something as well? I just feel it might be worth just reflecting. Thank you all for paying to be here. I so admire and support the work that Rotem does. And I just point out that Rotem is also trying to make a living here in his crazy generosity to the EMDR community. And he does a lot of it for free. He takes a lot of time to do this, which he's not earning money with clients. I really hope for Rotem. I mean, we visited, and Rotem and I hung out together in Denver very enjoyably last year. I really hope it's going to be turned with time into a good business, because Rotem's got a living to make. So I've been very pleased. And this isn't to sort of, preen or to show off, but I've been delighted to do this in support of Rotem. So I'm not taking a fee for this, because Rotem deserves it. I just wanted to say that. And Rotem, I'm so grateful. Rotem and I get on quite well. We hang out a bit every now and again. We have some good conversations, and it means a lot to me, Rotem. And I please do support Rotem financially in the appropriate way, spread the word, engage in his community much more than people do at the moment. It's really important for bigger EMDR and the next generation. Rotem, you're a leader from the next generation, which is great.
Thank you, Mark. It's my labor of love. I think that those who know me know that. And yeah, just engage in the community, come with questions, answer other people's questions. Yeah, and I'm already deep into 2026 with our webinars and programs and all that. So there are good things.
And my retirement, the one thing that I might allow my retirement to be compromised by is continuing engagement with Rotem.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Okay. Thank you, Mark. That was wonderful. And Mark and I will find another day to meet with Alex and whoever's going to be able to join us. Thank you.